Yes, sir.
All right.
Let me get this. Let me make sure I got my movie turned down. I almost
Hey,
started. I almost
you
described
already.
what movie I got going on, and that would have been bad. We would have been demonetized already right off the rip.
Oh,
Well, we are live now, and it's another week in the off season, and I'm enjoying it personally. Been working on other side projects like trying to do my own drift stuff and fixing that car, which has been a fun process. And we've already got rid of Herbie because apparently we don't need him anymore. But welcome to live streaming. How many times do you think
How
it's
you
gonna
doing?
happen this time, bud?
I don't know. At least I don't have to worry about dropping the whole stream.
This is true. Well, it's early. Give it time. What's up, Malik? And
what's
yeah,
up?
so it's been a nice couple weeks of me just wrenching on cars, which is whether or not you think is fun. It's a different job than filming and editing, so there's that for me at least. But
Are you good at it?
wrenching on cars, no, I suck at it. I literally broke one of them that I was working on, and now I have to replace that part because I broke it.
That
So
sounds like fun.
yeah,
Oh yeah, the
it's
That's how you.
clothes.
That's how you learn.
I turned it's the lifelong story of turning an hour long job into now it's been probably 8 or 9 hours, and I have to put another 4 hours in to fix it. So yeah, it's just one of those things where I fucked up, and now here we are. And Malik, no, Sarah is sick. She got some kind of bug, so she is out for today. But you still got Herbie. He's a good consolation prize.
I am.
I
I could show skin legally.
know. And then we also got fellow Baldy over here. We got Dmitry Brutskiy, and again, appreciate you coming out.
Yes,
And
sir.
Dimitri,
What's up?
here's how we're gonna start this off. Is you know people I've known you since I think the Z4 days.
Hmm.
But you actually haven't been driving for that long, if I remember correctly. So how long have you been driving, and kind of where did you get started? Because well, first introduce yourself to like what you do now, and then kind of go, and then we can kind of drop back into what you where you came from.
Um, Dmitry Brutskiy, dry Formula Drift, pro spec and pro, and yeah, a father, a husband, and just the Mister Never Settle, just
Yeah.
like
Right.
JRD and the said. And here I am. I started drifting in 2015.
Yeah.
Went to a local drift event with a friend of mine, and went for one ride alone, and I instantly got hooked. Like, I remember him going one, two, third gear, and like kind of weight transfer. It was a stock KA S13, and well, the diff, he kind of clutch kick, and the car started going sideways, and I'm like, whoa, this is so much fun! I can so do this. Like literally that first initiation, I'm like, dude, this is so much fun because
Mm-hmm.
I've always been a car guy and more a Honda guy. I used to drag race and all that stuff. Still
Right.
got my little Type R sitting rotting
Yeah.
away somewhere in the woods.
How much power did
But
that thing end up making?
I had a true DDM tire with a lot of nitrous in it, so I melted the pistons a couple times like a candle. Literally just melted inside the cylinders because I would race like fourth and fifth gear spraying. There was no nozzle. There was just a line stuck into my intake.
Oh my
So
Oh,
god.
that's pretty good.
yeah,
That's
I don't
pretty.
know. Yeah, I never took it to the track, but I've been racing with like motorcycles and everything. It was
Yeah.
so originally the motor was in a Del Sol, the little
Okay.
Del Sol, and yeah, so that thing is not that heavy, pretty small. Yeah, and it
Mm-hmm.
was revving to the moon like 10,000 RPM. You upshift and you drop into 7K, then you go back to 10. 7 to 10 is where you at. So
Wow.
always screaming, always like I would have to put some slicks on the street, obviously, because it would spin third.
Right.
And yeah, started with like NA all motors, and then basically people started cheating a little bit, and then it just became like race with your brawn and let's go. Start
Yeah.
going through the ranks. I lost my license. I didn't have my driver's license, so
Oh
learned my
no.
lesson
Did you?
at some point in my life. Yeah, at some well, I do it on the track now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
You can say I learned my lesson. At least not to do it on the street.
Yeah,
You
But
know,
right.
I feel like
yeah.
you're not alone in the FD world that has lost their license once upon a time.
uh, I think maybe
I know.
up until 2020, I drove without the license more than I drove with the license. Right now, the scale tipped the other way. But yeah,
Right.
I've been driving without the license for so long.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And that's how I became a good driver. Seatbelt every time and
yep.
Hmm.
blinkers, driving nice.
Tattoo, baby. You know.
Yeah, I remember when I got my license and I felt so uncomfortable driving with my license because I felt like I'm gonna break the law or go a little faster speed, or
Yeah.
I was so used to buckling up. If I don't buckle up, I feel like I'm gonna fall out of the car. So definitely learned some good habits there.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyways, back to drifting. I went to a drift event local with a friend and instantly got hooked on it. Went and bought my first Z3. Started drifting locally for a couple of years.
Yeah.
Then towards the end of the 2016, I found out or heard about Pro Am. I didn't even know Formula Drift as a pro. I only knew Pro Am because I had Reese Marin, Monson, Tanner Monson, and a couple other guys came out to Club Luz North in New Hampshire. That's where we used to drift a lot.
Hmm.
And I remember seeing them sitting in their cars that looked like a pro cars to me. Well, pretty close, Pro Am, pro
Yeah.
spec ish, with those windshield banners and everything. It says US Drift Pro Am, and there's a little Formula Drift logo on it,
Yep.
whatever. And I'm like, man, I want to be like those guys, man. And I remember
Yeah.
the guy who ran our event, he'll be like, he was all about like seat time, moving line fast, and you had to be strapped and helmet buckled and everything, like 10 cars, back in line. And if you don't, you get kicked out back to the line, and you don't want to go back to the line.
Right.
And then I'm looking at these Reese, and all the pro guys. They're like basically no helmet off, on their phone, all the way up to the car in front of them. And I'm like,
Jeez.
man, this is gangsters, man. I want to be on their level someday. Then right before they like point fingers at them, he's like, throw helmets on, strap it, and go. And I'm like, man, that's what's up. Yeah,
But
but
yeah,
so
so what your first car was a Z3, is that correct?
yeah, it was 3.0 Z3 2001, and I still have it. About to revive it, and my youngest son wants to drift it. So Thursday we're going to the track. It's my birthday, so we're going to E-Town. Gonna drift
Nice.
with kids, and I'm gonna try to bring that car with me if we put it together quickly.
Would you
So he
recommend
can
a
drive.
Z3 to drive?
What?
Would you recommend a Z3 to drive?
um, Depends for what. If you already have it, and for like parking lots events, you can. But if you want to have like a decent setup, no, because it has the same suspension in the rear as E30, a
Yeah.
little trailing arm, and you have almost no adjustment. I re-welded my tabs, and I also bought those expensive offset bushings that when you rotate it, it kind of tips the trailing arm.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would go to the event and do like 3 or 4 laps, and one side of the tire almost down to the cords, and the other one still has good meat on it. I would go back to the pits, take it off, go to the tire machine, swap them, and go do another 3 or 4 laps because I was all about seat time, and I was gonna lose any
Right.
like that. So there wasn't a lot of adjustability, but it was just a fun car. I didn't
Right.
know, but kind of set the tone of being a little bit different. I hate it when people call it a BMW Miata. Like, that's
Oh
not a
yeah,
Miata,
yeah.
that's a Z3. So a lot of people called my car like that, offended my car back then like that.
Yeah, I
So,
remember seeing your first. Well, the first time I saw you driving was at Hyperfest, I think it was, or
but that
you.
was a Z4.
That was
Yeah,
the
that's when you
Z4.
had
Okay.
that's when you had so tell us the
Uh,
story behind that Z4.
Okay, so 2016, I found out about Pro Am and US Drift. So there's a competition, and I was pretty wild. That was all about driving.
Right.
So I wanted to go and compete. A lot of my friends told me you should go and try because I was like, I did not care about the car. I did not care about how many tires I go through. I'm all about just driving and just put on a show. And there's like, you should go and try competing. So 2017 came around. I told my wife I want to go compete, and at that time we were building this house we live in right now, and she's like, for the last 2 years there was barely any progress made because you started drifting. So
Oh,
how about you finish the house first, and then you can do whatever you want. And
right.
that was literally her words, and I'm like, say no more. So I took a whole 17 year off, a whole 17 off, finished the house. We moved in, right? I don't remember if it was a Christmas Eve or if it was a New Year's Eve that we
Wow.
moved in. So yeah, and I was like basically right here January after the holidays. I'm thinking I still had a regular Z4 and I had a Z4M, and I understood that I need a better car for Pro Am. I need 400 or 500 horsepower and more
Right.
adjustability, this and that. So I started looking into who had drifted Z4 and if it's a good chassis. What I can find is information about
Right.
that chassis. Came across Michael Lessa that he's drifted Z4. Then I went on his Instagram page. Obviously, already by that time I knew a little bit about Formula Drift because I went to Canada to watch my first event in person.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I messaged him. Oh no! And then I think I don't know if I saw that that car was for sale before or after. But I messaged him on Instagram, just being a complete fanboy. It's like, hey, Mike, blah blah blah. My name is this and that, and I'm trying to build a Pro Am car.
Right.
And I have two Z4s. I have non-M and M. Would you recommend spending the money and investing into that car, or that's not a good chassis? Because I know you drifted at some point and then you switched to E46. So he's like, yeah, it's pretty quick chassis, snappy, fast, fun to drive, and you can make it work. But also, my car is for sale,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I'm like, okay, okay, and actually, I didn't expect him to reply to me, but maybe he replied because, first of all, he's a nice guy. Second of all, maybe he wanted to sell me the car. He felt the potential there. So I'm like, oh no shit, Michael has to reply to me. So, we kept talking for back and forth a couple of days, and he mentioned his car's for sale. And I'm like, man, he told me 40 with like stock motor, 45 with the built motor. And like, obviously, I'm not a builder, so if I'm gonna buy a car of that caliber, I would like it to be built and more
Right.
reliable. So 45K back then, it sounded so much money because I would spend like $5,000 to $10,000 maximum on a car from whatever auction or
Right.
from a friend. Put a couple $1,000s more into it and just go drift, go beat on it. About $45,000. I don't think I even bought a brand new car at that time for that much money.
Yeah.
I bought a couple decent cars for me or my wife, like maybe 30 up to 40K, maybe 25. I don't know. A lot of that time was I bought everything with cash and from auctions and fix it up. It would be like a couple-year-old car, but nice car, but it would be salvage. So got tired of that.
Yeah.
Anyways, so
I'm
45K.
actually pulling up real quick here. So this is the car that you went into Pro Spec with, so or Pro 2 with. So I'm gonna quick pull it up on the old screen here. Make sure you guys can see what I'm looking at. Maybe. Here we go.
Not yet.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I'm doing a couple things. All right, there we go.
Ran into.
Just so people get an idea of the car. Oh no, that is your E40. That is the E46. That's your new car.
That's E46, yeah.
So what year would this be?
2019.
2019. Oh, here we go. Oh, this was a bad day. I remember this.
Oh, at the Gambler.
This is the first Gambler.
That's a gambler.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Damn.
this was a bad day. I'm gonna stop it right here before this clip continues.
Hey,
I just want to
man,
make sure.
never settle. That's what it was, dude. He wasn't settling. He was like, I gotta catch him.
I just wanted to give like a point of reference for someone to like kind of see like the Z4 because you don't see them ever,
No.
Yeah.
Let's see if
I think someone else at Club Loose is driving one now, but I could be mistaken. Maybe that is also, I don't know.
There's one guy drives in Virginia. He does pretty good. M54 B30, I believe, turbo.
Okay.
But yeah, this thing was a beast. Obviously, Michael Lessa drove it in Pro 1 in 2011, 2012, I think. Definitely 2012.
Right.
So, yeah, anyways, I thought I have enough time to build I thought I had enough time to build a car, but before I knew it, a couple more weeks went by, and then another week went by, and I'm like, man, it's February, and US Drift announced what do you call it, shootout that year, 2018, and I'm like, man,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't have time to build a new car or a decent car, so I'd have to buy it. So I actually borrowed money, and I sent Michael S a message. I'm like, hey, I'll be there in a week. At that time, his car was set up for road racing, and time attack, like lap battle, whatever, super lap
Right.
battle. And he's like, oh, I need a little bit more time than that to convert it to a drift spec. I'm like, what does it take? Change a couple suspension components and add a handbrake back to it. I'm like, I don't know, whatever. You got a week. Don't come with money. So, oh no, actually, he said his aunt passed away or something like that. So,
Yeah.
he needed a little bit more time. So yeah, I made a detour. I went to West Coast, Northwest Washington
Mhm.
State, visited my family, and then made a trip to California.
Nice.
So, went to a balcony at Willow Spring, did a couple laps, and yeah, got the car home and started driving. Obviously, jumping from 200 horsepower Z3 into a 650, close to 700 horsepower monster like that. Man, I don't know how I didn't, total it or ran into someone.
Well, I mean,
It was
you
a
did
light
a
car.
couple times, to be fair.
I mean,
Nah,
everybody's got us, you know.
nah, dude. I didn't know what I was doing. Where?
Right.
Tell me when and where. A little taps? That's nothing compared to what I could have done.
This
Right.
is true.
True.
So
Yeah.
yeah, and that's how I basically at US Drift I didn't do so well.
Mhm.
I there was like shootout event where you have to lose twice to be out. I think I won my first battle, got into top 16. In top 16, I lost to Matt Bystruck, I believe, or
Nice.
either Matt or Alex
It was
Jaeger.
one of the two. Fucking
No,
me.
I lost to both of them. I lost to both of
Okay.
them. I lost to one of them in one of the brackets in the winning bracket. I think to Matt. Yeah, I lost to Matt in the winning bracket, and I lost to Alex in the losing bracket, I believe. Yeah, I didn't know. I didn't know they would become my rivals, man. In the
Look at
2000 and
that. It was the first, I think, time actually, like really all like meeting and driving together too. It's like, damn, all
I
right,
didn't
Team
know them.
USA.
I didn't know them. And the day before, listen, that was like third time I drove that car.
That's
First
when we
time at
found that out,
Hyperfest.
and we were like, holy shit. We were like,
Yeah,
oh.
yeah. And the day before the practice day, we had a crazy rain, so I had no practice. Basically, all of us didn't have a practice.
Yeah.
At least most of the people showed up with the cars that they know that they built and driven for a while. I showed up with the car that I only took it out twice.
Yeah.
I just bought it, so I didn't know what I was doing. I think I went off track twice in the lead in chase.
That's when I think
With
Misco went out off the track too into the tire
yeah,
on the right. Yeah,
I think he totaled his car in practice or something like that, man. That was
yeah,
bad. Yeah,
yeah.
that was,
Yeah,
and
there
I don't
was
know what
there was a
happened.
couple. It was a rough. I mean, that rainy day was awful.
I didn't
That
know
was
you drove this thing in clutch kickers.
Dude, that first season I did, and I think I missed one round, and I still finished fifth or sixth overall in points.
Yeah, this is you driving against LZ in his S13.
hmm
13.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's funny.
Dang, how time flies.
yeah. I like
Yeah.
that first season was pretty cool, but I don't know. For some reason, I didn't have any good luck to get to the podium in
Yeah.
the clutch kickers. But still had fun. I was pretty consistent there, like top eights, I think, every round or something like that.
Mhm.
And
Well, it was a hard
but
competition. It was such a cool thing that they did back then, and it was like,
it was.
even if you had power, it was hard to it was really hard to run away from people, you know.
Yeah,
Uh,
And like Adam, I don't think is making a ton of power at this point in that coupe, and has no problem sticking with you, you know.
he's definitely cutting the line a little.
Well, yeah, but
Yeah.
yeah.
but
It was pretty
He's
equal.
definitely out. Yeah, but yeah,
It
like
was pretty equal.
I was gonna
mhm.
say, like Alec Honadale being out there, like it definitely like
Dude, he was
even
making
at
1,000 horsepower, and he wasn't running away for the most part. He was actually driving with so much angle that it was kind of hard to drive behind him for a lot of guys.
Um, I actually lost to him my first round to
Yeah.
Alec Honeydale, and I
Mhm.
think only before I should have kept my mouth shut. The night before, I went and told him how grippy and how fast my car is, which is true, and it's
Yeah.
hard to drive like slow. So when I went the battle against him, though he was like slow mo the whole track, and I
Oh.
straightened out like a million times behind him.
It's
So, and I'm like, damn, I should have kept my mouth shut.
always
And
how it
he
goes,
he used it against me like 100% because his other runs was much better, and I'm just being so young and naive and drifting. I'm like, oh my god, I'm going against Pro One guy. Let's go, it's gonna be good. So I go 1, 2, 3, like almost jumping, trying ahead of him, and he's looking and he's like. And
Right.
sitting in the zone, and I'm like, "Whoa, what did I just do?" So,
To be fair, that car does things that don't seem physically possible.
and like you said, with 1,000 horsepower, he can click probably like fourth and overspin the tires, and he's just gonna be sitting
Yep.
in the zone while I'm
and just
struggling.
float
Yeah,
So,
around. Yep.
yeah. It's
So,
pretty wild to watch that thing drive. But no,
yeah.
I always thought it was interesting because it was like because the Z4 is such a tiny car and it has a short wheelbase and it looks really hard to drive. But you made it into FD eventually. You made it into Formula Drift
Yes.
eventually.
When I lost at US Drift, I was so disappointed in myself, and I looked up what else is out there, and there was East End Drift,
Mm-hmm.
and I think the first round was like the following weekend or something. So I immediately registered and went there, qualified first, and kind of knocked myself out in top 8. So I was fifth in the first round, and then second, third, and fourth round, I was on the podium from like third, second, and first place, and I was 1 point behind the guy who won the championship. So we're like
Nice.
right there, 1 and 2. Got my license, and 2019 I went to Pro 2.
Yeah. And what was the jump like back then to Pro 2?
I was still actually
Okay, so here's the question. So Pro 2, this is what year?
2019.
2019. So is there even a big difference from 2019 Pro 2 to Pro Spec now? Would you
Huge,
really?
huge. Yeah, big difference.
Did they had a spec tire limit then? No, or no?
They
it
had
the
two
weight
tires,
ratio?
a Nexen, and Achilles.
Okay. Yeah.
But same spec, 255, 3518. Yeah.
But guys were getting away with 500 horsepower back then. Still, I think. Like Andrew Lewis was making like 550 or something. And he was getting podiums, and guys were getting away with. I feel like still at 2019. But
I would say
maybe 600.
I don't think it's the power, man. Once you got like 550
Yeah.
to 600, that's all you need to be competitive, man. I don't think you're really gonna
Even
suffer
today, you think, huh?
Yes. So when I won my 2 championships, my car was making like 650 maximum, and even this car in Utah.
Threshold of like too much, or like then you're just gonna burn off the tires. You're gonna lose the grip and everything like that. I always felt like between 6-7 is definitely like I feel like a prime number, especially for most that you guys go to.
I would like to go and check how much power my Prospect car makes, because that's basically after that we did a couple of track days in California where Jacob, my son, drove it. But it's probably making 550 to 600 because it smokes a lot of blow by, and there's not a lot of life left in that engine. So, but I won Utah, you know what I mean? Obviously, it's not as fast as it used to be, but still, fourth year, pinning everywhere, decent grip. And, I won Utah. And I won against some tough competitors like Osoli, making 3 battles, one more time.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure he has way more power than me and more aggressive setup. And he wasn't gapping me. I was on his door every time I had to chase him.
Right.
So as far as competition, I think way more competitors are like right there. Like anybody can podium almost, right? So if there's 40 plus drivers, basically the first 32 drivers are anyone can have a good weekend, good event. Mm-hmm. Where back then it would be like top 8 guys who did so well, and the other ones are like, they kind of trying it out there.
Yeah. Well, like everyone has their rookie season. It's like everyone's got to learn. and I mean, you see that no matter what. I mean, you see that in pro and pro spec. Everyone's rookie season, like it's so rare that a rookie even will come in and get in that top 10 at the end of a season. You got to be like literally Connor Shanahan or Manoa. Like there were no rookies in pro spec, for example, that were anywhere near the top of the leaderboard.
I think Robert Thorne won his championship in his rookie year, doesn't he? Or that was his second year.
I'm pretty sure it was his second year, if I remember correctly. But he might have. But like what I'm saying is, it's not common.
Yeah.
And so like, but yeah, like you're saying, the level of driving has gotten drastically better.
Yep.
Now compared to what it was in 2019.
It used to be like just complete the run and don't make any mistakes and let the other guy make the mistakes. Right now, if you play safe like that, bro, you'll be out in top 32. You have to risk it, or not even top 32. You'll be out in the seeding bracket.
Right? Yeah.
Did you ever feel like when you were just doing pro to pro spec that you had some difficult times? Like,
well, I don't know what it is. I don't know if his phone just. I bet you what happens is his phone falls asleep, and then it kicks him out. Does your phone fall asleep and that's what kicks you out?
No.
Okay, well then I don't know what to tell.
What's up?
Streamlabs. Okay, what were you saying?
During when you were in Pro 2 Pro Spec, and you were still just on the fight for pro, did you ever have like the thought that it's harder for you to succeed in pro spec with the drivers or whatever at a time compared to like watching like the pro practices and like the tandems that go on there where they could put all their trust and everything into the following driver or whoever they're chasing or whatever? Like, did you ever feel like you can't put all of your trust necessarily in a pro spec battle, and then that's what ends up causing you to lose? Like when maybe they've had a shifty practice all day long, and then come comp, it's like, all right, this guy's been kind of like blowing it. Let's lay off. And then now you lay off, and it's like, well, what the fuck?
Yeah. So yeah, definitely. If not counting this year that I did double duty to have some comparison, in years before, I definitely felt disadvantaged that all my runs were super consistent. Like practice, qualifying, all my leads, that anybody, the worst driver on the grid, can jump on my door and, with a lot of trust, just follow me closely. And then when I go to follow them, it's just not the same. I don't have that same opportunity to get on their door and basically chase them. So, which was still giving me a lot of wins because of my consistent leads.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I definitely felt that in my seasons that I wasn't able to do the same thing or the drivers that I was competing against in prospect weren't giving me the same opportunity with their leads. And I don't know if it was
level.
Just yeah. But there was obviously, if we're gonna talk about something spicy topic about me being slow, right, or not let it grip. Hear me out, okay? Maybe this is my chance to speak.
Yeah.
Since I jumped from Z4, which was super fast and like a twitchy car, right? Always wanted to go. It was hard for me to stay in the zone. Like anytime I get on throttle, it wants to get out, like, and just drive forward. Once I switched to E46, I drove it, and it's like, actually, so here's what happened. I went and bought the car in 2020, because after 2019 season, I figured out that car is not compatible. I only qualified once out of 4 rounds in Orlando, and then I crashed in top 16. So I'm like, I'm not going to make myself look like, I got to do something about it. So I reached out and I bought this car right here from Mike Alessa in 2020. That was his championship car. Same thing when he switched from Z4 to E46, he won a championship in 2013. So I got the car. I tested it a little bit at Irvingdale. Just a few laps. The car drove. I felt good. Paid the money and we left. Came home. I went to E-Town to do some testing. And for some reason, just coming out of the trailer, the car, while idle, it dropped the valve and the motor locked up, and that was my practice. Wow. So we packed it, went back home, went to Brian Wadman's shop, and that's where my Z4 was sitting. we pulled that motor from a Z4 that had like a season and a half on it, or maybe 2 seasons. We beat the crap out of it, and
Right.
the last couple of times I drove it, it was start to overheating, which I never seen the temperature go up. But the last couple of times I drove it, it was overheating, and I just kind of didn't even, put two and two together. There's something with the motor. I thought maybe I drove a little too hard, but what happened is my block was cracked, and it was
Wow.
basically time for a new motor. Yeah, it had a lot of laps on it.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, the motor still ran. We put the motor in the car. Barely made it. I didn't sleep for like 2 nights. It was right before St. Louis, the COVID year. Remember 2020?
Yep.
We started season in St. Louis.
Yep.
So we packed up. We left to St. Louis. We came there. What did I do? I think maybe I installed my cool suit or something, or maybe lights I was doing for underglow,
Yeah.
and I used the main ground cable, loosen it up, put the little, whatever, ground cable to it, and I don't think I tightened it up. So when
Right.
I started the car, it was loose. It was drawing a lot of, circuit through there, and I fried my ECU, and my drive-by-wire stopped working. So it would idle and barely roll, but it would not, like, there would be no throttle response.
Right.
That was on practice day, and I'm like, what the heck? And that happened while I was pulling up in practice for the first run
Yeah.
in a hot grid, on a grid.
Right.
So we pulled back to the tent and started working, started going, started changing the actuator motor for the throttle and throttle position sensors, anything and everything. Went through a lot of stuff. I even had guys bring me my spare parts from home from Z4, which my nephew drove like 14 hours one way, and somebody drove from St. Louis. From
Wow.
St. Louis 14 hours. They met halfway in Pennsylvania and then went back, back home both
Yeah.
ways, and just to shorten out the trip. Drove overnight. We put it up, that part, and 30 minutes before, the day before, I didn't have to do anything, or maybe that morning I didn't have to do anything because I had like a buy run in top 16, and top 32 battle already gone by. So now in 20 minutes I have a buy run, not a buy run, top 16 battle to battle
Yeah.
Nick Novak. And here I am with a brand new car. I never driven like in my possession actually, other
Right.
than just testing with Michael Lessa back in Cali. And yeah, I'm like, I don't know, what are we gonna do? Luckily, Dustin Miles tuner was there, and he was like spending hours and hours on it, and he finally figured out that it's most likely ECU fried. We
Mm-hmm.
went to Papadakis' team, and they had a spare ECU. They allowed us to use it
Mm-hmm.
for that day, and sure enough, that was the problem. We quickly got the files emailed to us, downloaded, put the car in, and right at the opening ceremony, I was like, maybe the last car to pull up.
Right.
And yeah, the car drone. I was so happy that I can finally drive my car. Like, I didn't think that it was like competition, top 16 or anything. I'm like,
Right.
this is fun event for me right now because I can finally, after 2 days of like,
Yeah.
working on the car, and finally drive it.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I I didn't know what to do because I never driven this car on this track. So
Yeah.
what I did is I was leading. I jumped the light to give myself a sight lap real quick because
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
track is short.
Yeah. Because
Smart.
And
drivers do that, which is the funny thing. How
Hey,
often? So I'm just curious. Quick question: what percentage of you think mess ups at the light are on purpose? NFT.
trying to ice somebody or something, like phase them out.
I think a good percentage, quite a bit.
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
me, that was the only time I did that, and
Yeah.
looking back, there was a couple more situations I should have done just for my own advantage, not disadvantage to the other driver.
Yeah.
I should have like tested a few things, but I
Mm-hmm.
I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
That I could have used this rule, but anyways, that's the time I did it, and worked out well. So I made my pass, and my spotter is like, dude, there's nothing I can tell you. Just do same thing you did, and you're good. But it felt so good, felt so easy. I never felt so good driving a car, my Z4. I'm like, dude, this is it. This is how easy it is. Like, you place it in every corner, feels slow motion, feels like you have all the time, because in Z4 there's no like off throttle or what else. The car doesn't flow. Like, as soon as you lift
Right.
throttle, the car wants to snap. So you have to handbrake. You can't just lift
Okay.
and kind of coast it.
Let it float. Yeah.
And Yeah, so it doesn't happen. So you always like 110% focus, like working, doing something, either on throttle, handbrake, or grabbing something. Here you just kind of drive it like this with one hand, lift the throttle, the car nice, like, floats to the
Yep.
zone. You get back on throttle, and it just goes. I'm like, wow, it feels so good, but it felt so slow, felt so loose. And also, in Z4 we would run like 30, 35, up to 40 psi, and I would still be super fast because
Right.
it's basically same suspension as M3 trailing arm setup,
Mm-hmm.
just in like 10 inches shorter wheelbase chassis.
Yeah.
So, and you sit way back over the like rear axle, and you just
Yeah.
swing everywhere. I don't know what makes that car so twitchy, but it made me as a good driver. But when I sat in this car, it felt everything slow motion and super
Right.
soft, and I mean super smooth. There wasn't like any unnecessary movements. Um, that's what made me, I guess, a precise and super smooth driver.
Mm-hmm.
Which it also didn't have the X factor when we had an X factor in qualifying,
Right.
because it was always very smooth. So having Michael Lessa there by my side, and I would be like, dude, I feel like I need more grip, and he's like, no, dude, you were actually at that point I didn't have time to do grip or to discuss
Right.
anything. The car just drove, and I'm like, let's go. And we started with like 30 psi, I believe, which felt pretty slow but smooth, and I was still everywhere. So the first run, I battling Nick Novak. I led, and I did, freaking good lead, just like I did in my first side lap. And we swapped around, and I chased him, and he flew off a track in outside zone 4. So that got me like, easy win.
Right.
Then in top 8, I think I battled Dustin Miles. Same thing. I just at that point, no, that was Human Rahimi. Human
Yeah.
Rahimi, yeah. Um, his car popped out of gear or something like that in the chase. So I got that, and then in top 4, the first battle I was battling Josh Love.
Yep.
Yeah, Josh Love, and I feel like I had advantage. And just coming out over the finish line, my car was like shutting off because it started overheating, and he bumped into me.
Uh,
So that was the first part of the battle. We came to the pits, and I had to check over the car real quick because it was a small contact, so the car did cool off. It was maybe like a shared foul or something. So
Yeah.
we went back to the second run, and I put it on his door and stayed with him, and we earned one more time. So then we went for the second battle. Basically, the first part of the battle was good. The second, when I was chasing him about 10 feet before the finish line, the car just shut off, overheated, and I
Right.
crossed it kind of straight. So I lost that battle. Then battle for third, Aston Martin. On the run up, the car just started doing crazy stuff like blah blah blah, and I'm like, man, I don't wanna, risk his
I'm
car.
tired.
Yeah, and that's it. So that's how I got fourth place in St. Louis. That I never driven that car, and I know judges knew about it. Everybody knew about it, and like, wow, how I did pretty well in
Right.
the car, in the new car, and no practice, nothing. Which, looking back then, right now I will spend a whole day in practice, and I still sometimes doesn't get as dialed as I was back then. Maybe I
Right.
should drive my Z4 once in a while to get me back in shape. So, and then we went to Seattle. In Seattle, I won. It was in the rain. I love driving in the rain. That was my favorite event. First win in Pro Spec or Pro back then.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then this was that was in Texas, and then Irvindale. So I won my first championship then. What I wanted to say, that in the lead, the car felt super loose and smooth
Yeah.
and easy. But then when I was chasing people, I felt like I'm on the edge of like not having enough grip, but just compromising a little bit quick, cheating the line. And the way you, with the turbo cars, you can pedal the throttle and kind
Right.
of start catching the grip, and then
Mhm.
you keep drifting. Where with the V8, when I drove it a few times, you just overspin the wheels right away, blow the tires off, and you just falling back. You don't have that forward bite.
Right. Mhm.
So I need a lot of grip maybe in the car to stay with it. So I was able to stay with everybody in the chase, and I would still win battles. That's how I won my championship. Then let's take it into the drivers' meeting with the Pro 2.
Yeah.
70% of the guys, they basically don't hit the marks. They don't hit the zones. They don't stay in the zones. If it's a bank track, forget about it. Nobody's dragging their bumper on the wall, right?
Right.
Let's be honest. There's if people do get a little high, I can just watching them. I can see that they just panicked and they added a lot of angle. They just drove off the bank because they thought they're crashing. So nobody's like getting up there. Touch the bumper on the wall, and now they're driving comfortably. That's how I
Right.
drive the banks. I love feeling the bank, with the wall with my bumper and just drag it. I have no problem. Maybe because I never cared for the cars, I just
Right.
use it as a tool, and I want to put in a show. I want to show some of my skill.
Mm-hmm.
But I know a lot of guys, they would care about their cars and they don't want to crash it, they don't want to scratch it, they don't want to
Right.
do this and that.
Mm-hmm.
So the judges would tell the whole field, loosen up your cars, loosen up your cars, loosen up your cars. We did that. Michael Essa told me, listen, don't add any more grip. You're good. You're still fast enough. You're hitting the zones. This is more important when we had a qualifying. Just stay in the zone, in the chase, unless you're really losing, to someone because they're gapping you. Otherwise, don't worry about it. You're good. Just put on good leads and just stay nice and flowy. That's what we did. We mostly ran 28 to 30 psi 2 years in a row. We never went down. My suspension was somewhere in the middle, and that's it. So then we get the guys who maybe have a lot more grip, and if they're on a little bit inside of me, now they have more grip and inside smaller line. Of course they're gonna struggle. I don't have to do nothing. They're already struggling just because they're on the inside.
Right.
I would go around and help guys that in the lower standings or like can't qualify. I'm like, dude, just loosen up your car. There's no zones for you. Just go and complete the lap and you'll be good, because we had some buy runs in top 32. We would
Right.
have like 37, 38 drivers, but 10 of them wouldn't qualify.
Yeah.
With 2 runs, they wouldn't qualify because something either breaks or they fly off or they just
Right.
straighten out. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
what are you trying to do? Like, you can't complete the lap. Obviously, you can drift because you got to
Mm-hmm.
Pro 2 somehow, right? But just overthinking, overdoing stuff, you're putting yourself out of competition. Loosen up the car. Think of it as a fun event. Can you link that track that you see in front of you?
Right.
Just go link it, and you'll be good. You'll be in. And once you do that, you'll see how much easier to drive this track, your car, and you'll be more compatible. A few guys that listen to me, they did well. The other ones, the time I'm playing with them, creeping up their cars and they lost. They couldn't even
Right.
qualify. So I stuck with that theory for a while. I never really did anything to choke people off or
Right.
to play games with them, especially when I'm in a lead, bro. If I'm gonna make one glance at the car behind me, I feel like I'm gonna crash or something's gonna happen. I can't focus on anything but my lead.
Mm-hmm.
And even if actually, when we had a qualifying and anytime I left foot brake, I was losing a lot of points. So
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
were slowly dialing back my left foot braking by every round, better and better and better, which I still used it as a tool whenever I need it. If I feel like I can also predict my line before I get into the zone.
Right.
So if I'm feeling, all right, I don't have enough momentum, or I'm not gonna make it, I start left foot braking early to like set myself into the
Yes,
zone and stuff like that.
Yep.
Yep. So, however, it looked from other perspective and drivers and fans, and there's some hate and stuff like that. I don't really care. I did let some of the stuff get into my head, and I felt like it changed my driving style, not for the better for me.
Right.
But it is what it is. I feel like more drivers need to do a better leads. And
Right.
let's see. Is Herbie's gonna jump back in?
Yeah, he'll jump back in. He's just taking a second, I guess. Oh, there he is.
Okay. So and
But
and I was
so
always pretty smooth and slow. So the people who
right.
complain about me being slow, set up your car looser for my battle. Like, this is not a
Right.
surprise that I did something, like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know why people complain, but people will complain.
No, and that's just the reality
Exactly.
is what's that,
Yeah,
Herbie?
and I know who complain. You have anything to say, Herbie?
Me?
Yeah.
You should have a lot to say.
Oh, against with my boys.
with all your boys, yeah.
They were definitely chapped up. But again, I mean, it like you just said, like it's not like you were you weren't cheating. It's just you drove comfortably, and I also would probably have to agree with you where you look at the pro spec field, even especially then when the big, like a lot of people were truly complaining, and it wasn't really like the cream of the crop of like a show until you did hit that top 8 or whatever, So it's like maybe that's a sign when it's you, Ben Hobson, like even Alex wasn't really up there because it's like the 370 is so gripped up.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, Alex was always a fast one. He is a good driver, good competitor, good program. Um, I don't know
I
if
think that
he.
chassis is a struggle for him a little bit comparatively.
Mhm.
But overall, but yeah, no, I think that a lot of people should take that aspect of just like kind of just go. You got your license somehow, so
Right.
how did you do it? Your car wasn't always this rocket ship, so
Mm-hmm.
like
Mhm.
maybe like go back to like the good old days where you could kind of stay committed in throttle, like
Mm-hmm.
play with
Yes.
that instead of constantly jabbing the clutch, like yanking on stuff and this that, like constantly jerking yourself and like
I gotta give credit to Michael Essa. I was gonna be that guy, you know, super gripped up and struggle every round. I'm like, dude, it feels too loose. It feels too easy to
Right.
drive. Can we grip up a little bit? He's like, for what? I'm like, I don't know. I feel like everybody's like so much faster, like surging forward. He's like, and are they winning? I'm like, no. He's like, then
yeah.
see, you're good. He would slow me down every single round, round after round after round. I feel like I need 14 psi. I need to be fast. I need to be this. He's like, for what? For what? Like he would
Right.
Yeah.
literally ask me questions. Why do you want to be fast? Do you want to miss the zone? Do you want to be choppy over there? Like, do you want to struggle? What do you think you're not? You're not having. I kind of maybe at some point the people who did have a good line and like super like aggressive, like Alex had that in his gambler runs and in some even in his 370Z in Prospect Pro 2 rounds. I
Yeah.
kind of like that, like nice and surgy.
Yeah.
It looked aggressive, good show, but I couldn't do that. I had to be nice and steady, closing the
Yeah.
gap and try to stay there. Maybe if I'm feeling like I said, I can almost predict that I'm at the limit of my grip and the guy's about to pull on me. So I start like maybe less angle or cutting the line a little bit
Yeah.
because I want to stay within the pocket. And maybe that's what I wanted to have a little bit more grip. But so lucky that Michael wouldn't let me do that. And he's like, dude, you're good. You're good right where you at. The car
Yeah.
doesn't feel a lot of stress. You're super smooth and you're feeling every zone. You're not struggling to get there, and you're still within the chase. So yeah, that was a good
Yeah.
one.
What's it
Yeah.
like working with Michael Essa?
Oh, I miss him, man. It shows in the last couple of years, bro.
Yeah.
It definitely sucks because a lot more mental responsibility. Back then, I can drive however I want, and if I stuff the car into the wall, I know him and his whole crew's gonna be there, rebuild the car for me in 30 minutes, and I feel like I'm just arrive and drive. I don't even care. I don't even know
Right.
why he
Yeah.
did it. Like he's such a nice guy, especially to me, that he felt responsible for the car that he sold to me and had no responsibility for. You know what I
Right.
mean? But he would still be there, make the car drivable no matter what I did to it, and I would go and do well. And basically, I think um, 3 out of 4 rounds I would podium, have trophies. The second year, I
Right.
had 2 trophies and stuff like that. So I would always do pretty well. I remember the first time I went on top 16, I was like, oh my god, like
Yeah.
throwing
Right.
tantrums and all that stuff.
They're calling your name out there and everything. Yeah, it's surreal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But man, I miss him. I wish I could afford him to have like my crew chief and
Right.
just be there full time, just to take some of this mental responsibility. It's just right now, I guess I do drive a little bit differently because I know more about the car, more mechanical sympathy,
Yeah.
which I hate in a way. Because back then I just drove it like I want to break it and it wouldn't break. Right now I drive so careful and still breaks. I'm like, what the heck,
Yeah.
Right.
you know?
Interesting. Well, we
So
got a bunch of questions coming in, so I wanted to kind of hit some of them here. So Celine Drift is asks, is tech harder or more involved now compared to in 2019? And he says money wise. Um,
what is it again?
is tech harder or more involved now? I guess he's talking about the drift builds, or just the builds in general and drifting. Comparing 2019 to now, like, are like the cars? What's kind of the big changes that you've seen from 29 Pro 2 car to a 2024 Pro Spec car?
Um, it's hard to say. There was a couple crazy builds back then.
Right.
Excuse me. I feel like the spec rules did did its part, like to level the playing field
Right.
as far as build. So a lot of people just more simple. Well, quick changes obviously it's a must. Um, Everybody have quick change. If you don't have a quick change, man, don't even come to FD. I don't care. Pro spec or pro.
Really.
Quick change is a must. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And then dog box obviously. So everybody's gonna be on the dog box
Mm-hmm.
transmission because sequentials not allowed back then. There was a few guys with
Right.
sequentials. And motors, a lot of guys will stick with LS, which is pretty simple, or JZ.
Right.
There's a few guys that stick to the original motors, which is Alex Jagger, me with BMWs, and I think that's pretty much it. So,
Yeah.
um,
But yeah.
yeah,
Well.
there's nothing crazy with the builds. I
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't say it's more. I think people stopped doing stuff that not necessarily and not reliable,
Mm-hmm.
and the cars are more practical now. I
Interesting.
see it. I would see that way.
Malik
Yeah,
asks, how much power is an average pro spec car making now? I would say 800 is an average. I mean,
probably.
I know some guys making 1,000, and I know some guys making 700. So, um,
Yep.
it seems to go up every year. But the
Not
challenge,
needed. Not
yeah.
needed. I don't know.
Malik also asks, are there any builds by other teams on the grid that you're amazed or inspired? Or just okay. So I'm gonna rephrase this. All right, are there any builds by other teams on the grid that you really like? Like, is there another or team setup that you really that you've learned from even and kind of made changes to kind of your setup?
Mm, well, obviously, all the big teams.
Right.
Yeah.
All the big teams, nice rigs, nice setup. Have a nice crew that
Mm-hmm.
is consistent, that travels with you every round for the whole season or multiple
Right.
seasons, that knows their position and their job.
Mm-hmm.
Um, which I've been, pretty strict with that. Try
Right.
not to get new people every round. Like, we have requests here and there. People want to help, hang out, and blah blah blah. I'm like, I'll get you in so you can hang out, but it's really best way
You
for
need your
us.
core team. You know.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. um, yeah, I still have a lot to do in way of like organizing stuff and
Yeah.
running cleaner pit setup and more organized in the trailer after the events, in between events. But I just inspired by the big budget teams.
Yeah.
I wish I had more money, more bigger budget, so we can
Right.
maybe show our potential or our style, what we can do, and just entertain people that way. But right now, it's
Exactly.
all kind of out of pocket and doing on the budget, very
Right.
minimum expenses, and just
Mm-hmm.
whatever needed, whatever
Yeah.
needed. But yeah,
You brought up an interesting topic earlier, and I wanted to ask why is the BMW engine platform not as popular as you would think it would be? Because obviously, there's a bunch of pro BMWs, and the only other BMW in pro that runs a BMW engine is Rome, right now.
Rome,
So
and this year,
Chestnut.
Sam
right,
McMamie
he's in pro
ran
spec, but
S54.
yes.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
yes.
So
Um,
why do you think more people haven't taken the reins? Because you have an S54 as well, right? Or no?
yeah, yeah. All my
Yeah.
cars are S54
Right.
since Z4, S54, and until now, all my cars S54s.
Yeah.
I have about five, maybe six cars S54s, couple spares. I love
Right.
them. I love them. I don't want to praise them too much because then it's gonna happen same thing what happened to Jay Z's, and I
Yeah.
Right.
won't be able to get them for cheap.
Yeah.
But I think the S54s in general maybe had bad name for themselves from street cars that had a bad rod bearings. Not a bad rod bearings. It was just a wear item that people would
Okay.
not do on time, wouldn't do maintenance, and
Yeah.
spun a rod bearing, and all of a sudden you got the whole motor go to junk. And the other thing recently learned is the Venos, to control the Venos. Um, Not all standalone computers back then was able to do it. Right now
Right.
you can do it, pretty easy.
Right.
I guess I'm not a tuner or
Right.
that, that sort, but I know it's. I mean, we're doing it for a while now, so it's very
Right.
doable, and that thing is amazing. Basically, all my engines in the Z4. Once I stole the engine from my Z4, that then we rebuilt it, put it back in the car. I put a completely stock motor with low miles in the Z4, and I had it for about 3-4 years, and drove the piss out of it, and rev limiter on low boost setting, which was making I think 12 psi, was making close to 600, and super
Wow.
responsive,
Yeah.
super fun to drive, and it's still good motor. I'm pulling that from a Z4 and I'm putting into another M3 now for Jacob and just for
Nice.
myself to drive, have fun. So I think that's where it came from. That first of all, people couldn't control the Venos, and the other one is bad name from rod bearings, I would think,
Interesting.
because mostly that motors could be stock making 600 horsepower all day long and you'll be fine on low boost, and it makes
Yeah.
way more power on low boost than like Jay-Z's and stuff. The only thing it doesn't like is higher PMs and rev limiter, like a
Mm-hmm.
hard cut rev limiter bouncing off, because then it pops the shims.
Okay.
But now
You can tune that
SuperTech
out,
makes,
right? Yeah.
yeah, yeah, so we
Um.
dropped the RPMs a little bit, and I try
Yeah.
not to bang
What
the
can you
rev
get a
limiter.
like a stock S54 for engine wise? What do you think the price is for those things right now?
5K.
5K. Okay.
5K fully dressed up, everything just basically almost ready to just swap into another car.
That's not
Yeah,
bad at
if
all.
you're really lucky, you can get it for 4 as well.
Yeah.
I have got a few for 4
Yeah.
and cheaper,
Yeah.
but yeah, 5,000. That's easy. Like if you need a motor today, tomorrow, you can find one for 5K.
Yeah.
I'll sell you one for 5.
Oh, Malik
I'll
asked,
sell
have
you
you?
one for 5.
Yeah. Malik asked, would you consider ever moving to a more modern BMW engine like the S58 or B58?
Um, I've been thinking about it. Um, if it's going to be reliable and working, I would like to also move to a newer chassis.
Yeah.
But also depends the companies that I'm working with.
Right.
Um, if I'm working with like ECS or FCP Euro or somebody like that we're talking to continue some kind of sponsorship, you want to
Right.
be relevant to general public and whatever is out there. Like E46s, E36s are out there right now drifting and taking over the drift scene. So if I'm gonna go into like F30 or something newer, not every not a lot of viewers watching this could picture themselves doing the same thing that I'm doing. But
Right.
when they see me drifting in E46, they can relate to that. They can go buy a car for $2,500 and do small mods to it and go to a local drift event, and they can relate to that. So I think that's a good selling point. Unless there's sponsors that want to see me in a more modern car, I
The
have no
Porsche
problem.
Cayenne, right? Wasn't that what you were driving? Chris,
Yeah, yeah, that thing is
the big
crazy.
body, big.
Yeah, like with people in it, close to 6,000 pounds. Man,
Dude,
that thing
watching you
is
come into a
ridiculous.
turn and you just see it kind of like, like, oh
At
boy.
at Laguna, we DB'd it just from the weight like transfer, and just
Really?
the tire just came off. And there's like
Yeah.
35s that is low profile, and it still took the wheel off. I mean tire off. Larry Chen was chasing us and almost hit it.
Had a little
Actually,
taste
did
of
hit his
Porsche.
car. Yeah, trying to be like Chelsea.
What's that? What does that thing genuinely feel like?
Super heavy, and once you go like towards full lock, it just wants to keep rotating because there's
Yeah.
so much weight moving. So if you keep it somewhat middle angle,
Yeah.
you do well. But once you like swing it on the transition, that's it. You're not catching it because imagine so much
Yeah,
weight.
the
Just
inertia is just coming right back behind you and pushing
yeah,
forward. Yep.
yeah.
Wow.
But yeah, so it's a LS2 supercharged motor that makes around 500 horsepower, and
For all
yeah,
that
it's
weight, it's not that much.
yeah, especially
I'm sure.
so giving ride loans and stuff like that. And when you get some heavier guys in there, I'm like, man,
Yeah.
we broke the axle and a couple other things, and it doesn't drift very well when you have extra big bodies in there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You got
no,
some
that
tiny regular small people, it's fun.
Yeah.
But once
a,
you have a
a
heavy
couple
people,
of
man, that
me's
thing
in
doesn't
there would
drift.
be fine. Yeah.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
guess who's in the chat? We got Brian Wadman in here. What's up, buddy?
Yo.
Old team never settle. Let's go. Um,
Yeah.
Malik asked. That's why I pulled up the video. What inspired the livery, or like, did you have a reason for it? Or kind of what was
This
the
one,
deal?
this year.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You've always been a big red guy.
What is it?
I said you've always been a big red guy.
Yeah, there's still some red in it.
It's does it's got some red, but I mean, like even from the beginning, your Z3.
I don't know, man. Just like red color.
Yeah.
Trump 2024. Just kidding.
Malik also asks, what do you prefer the seating bracket over qualifying?
No.
And I knew you would say no.
I said I hate it in the discussion we had in ProSpec Discord with Ryan Sage, and he kind of almost banned me for that word. But I mean, it's my English, my second language, so I express myself as much as I can.
Yeah.
I won a seating bracket a few times, so it feels good. There's some
Right.
battles, but I still don't. I still prefer qualifying.
Because you were a great qualifier, so
Yeah,
Yes.
you shine time and time and time again. That's always...
Exactly. So coming into this year, I'm like, listen, I know it's a big jump. There's going to be a lot of good drivers, but I can qualify pretty decent. I'll put myself in a good position to go maybe against the guy who will struggle a little bit and at least top 16s, be consistent,
Right.
and so on, so on. And
Just
with
kidding.
this, yeah. There's obviously you can say, listen, drive better. Look at Minowa and Connor Shanahan; they got themselves out of the seeding bracket, so I agree with that. But it's still with Long Beach, I got Connor Shanahan in the seeding bracket, which we had a pretty good battle, very close.
Right, it was a great battle. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then from then it's just kind of set the whole course of your season. Just,
that's the hard part. Is once you get set in the seating bracket, you're kind of it's hard
that
to get
was
out.
that was the 32, right, of the seating bracket.
That was the first battle.
That's
Long
sucked.
Beach.
I felt that sucked.
Yeah.
Like for both, like no matter who, like in my thoughts, I was like, no matter who wins this, like it just sucks. It's Connor's first time in FD. It's Dmitri's first time at Long Beach in pro, and it's just like, damn, man, like y'all couldn't have just picked like Dmitry and Dean Barney, like.
Yeah.
Like
on the other hand, I'm not mad about that loss or that whole thing because I take pride, or maybe it was an honor to give him a battle, the first battle in US, and actually he complimented that. He's like, dude, I battle against best people in the world, and I was never as nervous as going to battle you. Like, all right, and it was a good battle.
It was
battle.
Fantastic.
So I wasn't even mad about that loss because when else you're gonna have a chance to battle, guys like him and stuff like that. I know in practice,
was that kind of your welcome to pro moment, or like what would be your welcome to pro moment? You think, or like oh dang, like this is like serious now, like this isn't just pro spec,
It was late in the season. It wasn't a Long Beach because it was so uncertain. I was driving to California like a week and a half, 2 weeks before Long Beach, and I didn't know if I'm gonna run my prospect car or if I'm gonna have two cars. I don't know what's gonna happen, if I'm gonna have a tire sponsor and all that stuff. So everything came about
field battle at Orlando.
A what?
I would say you're. In my eyes, I would say that your welcome to pro thing would be your Orlando battles with field.
But he did well. There. What I'm saying is,
I know that's what I mean. But that's what I mean. It was like, but like the fact that it was one more time, like, and they were just heaters every time.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying, and I get it. Like, I show the standard that I can hand you with pros. Is what you're saying. But from your question, original, it was late in the season. How much, how rookie I am, how naive I am against all the top dogs.
Mm-hmm. Oh no, we lost him.
Games.
Oh, he's back. Sorry,
Dude,
you're back now.
Listen, so
Yeah.
here's you said how much of the bad starts and all that stuff,
Yeah.
jumping the light and tipping the coin. Jumping the light and tipping the cone is about 10% of all the mind game.
Yeah.
Everything else is in the run up. You know how many times I've been thrown off this season from the big dogs, the way they run up? I would
Really?
line up against top 10. I don't want to name, drop any names, but like
Right.
most of them, at least that's what it felt like. Maybe I overreacted, okay?
Right.
Because I do overreact a lot to everything. I would be like lined up against top dogs and like, all right, let's go. This is gonna be good. Like I'm on top of it. Like
Right.
let's go. And there's no way my cars is faster than them, okay?
Right.
Because when I lead, I know my leads. I kind of register everything pretty good. Let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, all my run ups, my speed, my initiation, and I go. And I know how fast I get off the line and when I initiate. Here I am trying to chase somebody, and I'm like 1, 2, and I'm almost ahead of them, and then I'm like, what's happening? And before I realize what's happening, I either miss shift or by the time I grab a gear, they're like, woo! And now I'm trying to play catch ups, and I'm either topping the wall or in the gravel, something like that. I'm like, what was that? So the first couple times I thought it was me, but then I noticed throughout the season that they will throw you off in practice and even in the battles on the run up, and that's part of the game. That's part of the skill. I can't really do it maybe just yet because I'm too focused on what to do right. And
Right.
these people that's been there and doing this for a while, they'll be just like chilling there. It's like I can change my run up right now like 10 different times, and you're not gonna guess it, you know. So that can throw you off really bad. So that was like welcome to pro moment for me. I'm like, oh shit,
Interesting.
this guy can get to initiation a different way, and or at least, like I said, maybe that was my perspective.
Mm-hmm. That's
One of my
interesting.
favorite drivers that I would never say anything bad or shit on the drivers. Let's say I really respect and look up to him, and I wanted him to win championships. Ryan Turk, right? And I
Yeah.
lined up against him in practice in in Irvindale,
Yeah.
and same thing with him. Turbo Mike on the radio is like, dude, this guy been laying down 101-point runs every single time, like in practice. You can put on his door.
Right.
And here we are, go 1, 2, 3, and he's kind of slow rolling, coming off before the initiation, like kind of pitched me off. I don't think he even saw me there. What I'm saying is that was his style of initiation and stuff like that, which completely pinched me off. I had to fall back so he doesn't hit my bumper. And then he flick it up on the wall and just runs like a champ all around the bank. I'm like, how do you do that? Like I don't know, but he did it. I recovered okay. I was able to catch back up and stay with him somewhat okay. But I'm like, man, that was showing some experience and extra, like how they managed to do it. So I don't know.
That's cool.
There's
Huh.
still a lot of this mind game. Just pulling out to the line and feeling confident and feeling like you're at the right place is
Yeah.
big. But if you feel like you're underdog, that's it.
That's the end
Yeah,
of your run already. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Well,
Damn.
it's interesting that um, they can. Well, when you're that good, you can do whatever you want. You can do a manji, you can do a straight handbrake, and it's not going to affect your run for the most part because
yeah, yeah.
you're good enough to initiate where you need to.
And I think it's a fair game if you can pull it
Mm-hmm.
off and do it. You know what I mean? It's within your right as a
Mm-hmm.
lead car to
Yeah.
initiate however you want it, as long as you initiate by cone one and start drifting
Mm-hmm.
in the zone where it's on throttle. It was literally for me a learning experience how much experience this guy have and how comfortable they can do 10 different initiations every round and still put down a good run. And I'm like,
Right.
oh shit, I just been thrown off completely just from one
Mm-hmm.
little flick from a car in front of me that I didn't expect that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
Um. Celine Drift asks, how do tire sponsors work? Are teams buying tires at a discount, or are they getting a set amount per season? And I would also answer, it's different per driver. It's completely different actually, depending on the driver and stuff. But what's kind of your been experience with that kind of stuff?
I've been lucky to get tires from my tour and really good tire. I heard they might not be coming back next season, so kind of sucks.
Sorry, you kind of like
But
went in and out for a second. Who were you saying you're getting tires with?
yeah, I got lucky and got sponsored by Vitor tires this
That's right,
year.
Vitor. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Vitor. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
they provided the tires for me for this season. I was helping them with some transportation and mounting tires. We would find an extra guy, or he would find an extra guy. I had a tire machine, and so basically the tire support at the track was at my pits for all the Vitor tires, guys, drivers.
Yeah.
And that was the trade-off. But yeah, usually if you don't have a full ride from the tire company, it's either gonna be discounted or you work something off like this. So
Right.
yeah, for prospect, everybody
GT
except
radio.
except Amanda is buying tires.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you don't have that long hair, you're buying tires.
You're lacking some hair there, bud, to do that.
All three of us are screwed on that one.
Maybe if I grow my beard, I'd be like,
I might be able to do something there too. That or my chest hair.
Yeah, there you go. Baby Yaga asks, "What's an update on the Z4? Is it ever gonna come back, or is it back?"
No. After that crash at Gambler, it was a downhill. The chassis started cracking everywhere, and I tried to drift it a few more times, and it's just not the same. So I don't want to struggle. I don't want to put my kids through that struggle. I just stripped it, almost everything right now. It's in my shop.
Yeah.
And we transferred everything into another E46 M3 chassis.
Nice.
Like I said, I'm going to have about four, maybe five E46s right now. Mm-hmm. So I think that's going to be a benefit to me and kids, learning the chassis, doing the changes, which, will transfer into my Pro Prospect program that I'm learning how the car works and, what changes we can do with the setup.
Right.
And just overall, less things to worry about, less spares, and different chassis, just more headache.
Right.
So that's
gonna have a full family team going to final bout, dude.
That's what I was. That's what I was asking. So, like, how do you handle? So, like, what are the ages of your kids that are driving, and kind of how do you handle it, like introducing them to drifting? Obviously, it's a dangerous thing to do. To
I
put a
remember
kid
seeing
in
them around since day one, dude.
Yeah,
right.
That's what I'm asking him. Is like, okay, so like you just throw them in the car and hope they figure it out, or like what was the process of like getting them to learn? Kind of, the steps. I mean, was it the little carts that drift around, or like what was? How would you kind of like? How would you introduce drifting to kids? Like or someone else's dad. His dad wants to introduce their kids to drifting.
Yeah, in my case, I was very a family guy. I always wanted to have kids that will be my friends. Right. And maybe for some people, it's kind of early that I had kids. First one at 25, second one 27, and third one at 29. Kind of wanted to have my kids before 30 so I can be friends with them in my closer 40 years.
Right.
Not having a baby on my hands, that was my idea, which is kind of working that way. So from about 1 or 2 years of age, they all had quads and dirt bikes, and they've been riding on that stuff. So they understand the throttle control, or at least motorized vehicles.
Right.
And then there was like side by sides for them, my bigger one, and for them they had a smaller one, more like a car, one with the steering wheel, throttle and brakes. So when they panic or see something emergency, they wouldn't just like smash the throttle and run into something. They have those reflexes to stop and go. And obviously it's all started with the limiter screw on the throttle, and then just open it up slowly.
Okay.
When I started drifting, they've always been with me. Came to basically 90% of my events.
They help you run the booth and everything,
Right now they do. They run in the business. They hustle people. Like if you're walking by and you made eye contact with them, that's it. They're gonna make you buy something.
they're like the kiosks in the mall.
Yeah, for real. But yeah, even before like FD, they would come with me to the grassroots events and watch me and cheer me on and stuff like that.
Always self-sufficient. Always finding their own fun.
Like they're very self-sufficient. Like that's one good thing for me. We've been raising them that way, kind of, but also they're smart kids because they're my kids. But I think when was it? 3 years ago, I started I wanted to start young driving. Obviously, it wasn't any like a record setting, but just the sooner the better. So Jacob started drifting when he was 10 or 11,
Yeah.
and actually his first experience was in Z4, which was a
Really?
little bit too much of a car. With that, yeah, that car. That time we brought two cars, 330 Ci and Z4, and Z4 was a little too much for him. In 330, he kind of liked it. Learned the manual. Um, in my other street car, Z4M. That's
Okay. Oh, sorry guys. It was a great story while it lasted. Okay, they're back. All right, sick. Let me get them back in here.
maybe.
Yeah. See, I don't know what it is, and
He's
now,
doing the BLM thing.
yeah, yeah. Oh, I don't know what's kicking them out. At least I can see them now. All right, there we go. I can see you
Um,
this time. That was weird.
That was
So
you.
I
first,
told you it's live stream, man. You never know what's gonna happen. But all right, continue the story.
so first, I taught him how to drive manual.
Right.
I explained him what the clutch is. You have the engine plate, which is always rotating. The more throttle, the faster it rotates. You have a clutch attached to the transmission, which attached to your rear wheels, which is standing still. If you let the clutch fast, they grab. You either start spinning tires if you have enough throttle, or you
Yeah.
stall the motor. So you gotta slowly bring those plates together by your clutch. With that basic illustration, it just clicked for them, and dude, I think like all of them basically took off without stalling on the
Right.
first try.
Nice.
And then I said, if you wanna like, I even practiced them a little like drag racing with the two BMWs 330 and 325 I have here on the grass next to my house. Like first and second was practicing, training them to like shift from first to second.
Yeah.
Some would like short shift it. Sometimes the youngest one would sit on the rev limiter like until he doesn't feel any forward by then he would grab second. um, then I also have a SMG M3, like a street car,
Yeah.
which you can just pedal shift first or second and stay in gear. That they drifted in the backyard when it was a little bit frozen grass, so you don't mess up the
Right.
grass, but you can still blow some
Right.
donuts. So
Right.
they like that. I have decent property, like about 3 acres, some woods,
Yeah.
a little dirt bike track in my backyard with a pond in the back. So
Nice.
Nice.
it's decent property. So kids playing around. So they learn at least a couple figure eights and that feeling of the motion when the car wants to rotate, figure eight, transition, and more throttle keeps spinning, off throttle, the car stops sliding. So those basic things they figure out and then went to the track. So all my kids drift right now. Jaden's the youngest one, 10, Andrew 12, and Jacob 14. Jacob full on like tandeming and putting on your door. I think he's ready for Pro Am for next year.
Wow.
Jaden is pretty wild. At 10 years old, I think in the off season, like we'll go to English Town this Thursday. We'll see. I'm just gonna try to give him more seat time. He might even be in Pro Am as well. Andrew, the middle guy, he's more of like a clean build car, so I don't think he might be even a drifter. He might be more of like
Yeah.
building some cool stuff or like running a
like-
program or something
yeah.
like that. I don't know.
He could be your tuner for all you know.
He seems to be smarter than we are. Like he would be spending his money on this stuff.
Like, yeah, no, actually, I'll enjoy it from the outside perspective. You guys
Yeah. We would be at English Town because right before Irvindale, I made a commitment to go to English Town every week. So every Wednesday or Thursday, we went there. That was part of our homeschooling, whatever, because they also do music, guitar, and piano, and foreign language once a week, plus homeschooling. So I'm like, listen, once a week we need to go drifting. Like that's I want to raise some champions.
On the sim.
Huh?
You got the sim built for him too, right?
Yeah, we have two sims side by side, but it doesn't do it. Trust me. Right now, we started in the real life before
now that
sim.
you got him to bug, there's no shot. There's no.
Bro, we have two sims sitting in my garage, and maybe once a week they go and play a little bit. That's it. Like,
Right.
it's literally. It's just sucking
you've
more
given him the
electricity.
taste of the good stuff. Now it's like,
Yeah.
dang.
Yeah.
Right.
So I keep two of my cars, stock BMWs 330 and 325 at English Town, and I, tow one or two cars to the track. So when we go, everybody have a car to drive.
Damn.
And yeah.
Good man.
But advice to dads when you studying your kids, don't push it. Don't make that bad experience for them. Like even if they're not doing well, if they're not meeting your expectations, just make the best out of it. Take it easy, take baby steps. Don't put them through that situation when they're like, oh, they're gonna hate it, and it could
Right.
be a good successful career or fun or hobby.
Mm-hmm.
So make it fun for them. I just bought a whole rear subframe from a complete dropout. And while I was working on my dirt bike engine rebuilding, they were just running around the shop. They wanted to do something. It's like, here, figure out what tools you need, take the whole subframe apart. So they had to take the control arms, diff, trailing arms, and basically take apart the whole subframe. About 45 minutes, everything was laying on the floor, and they worked together and got the whole rear subframe apart.
Oh yeah.
You know,
Oh yeah.
so
That's
yeah,
sick.
they enjoyed it. Just have them. Obviously, they might have stripped a few bolts and stuff like that because I could hear like, like, hey, hey, make sure that the socket is on the bolt before you start spinning that thing. But yeah, it's okay. Same thing. Like our kids started cooking breakfast and making us coffee like pretty early. Very self-sufficient. Yes, there was a mess in the kitchen the first couple times, but
Yeah.
this is how they learn. And yeah, we kind of let them try things early.
Right.
And
No,
that's
that's
how it went.
cool. Obviously, it's interesting because you got like the Sorensen kids, or you got three of them now in Formula Drift next year. You got Rudy and his wife are now both
Yeah,
in
that's a cool
Formula
combo.
Drift. Yeah, so it's like it's kind of like becoming a big family thing for a lot of people, and it's kind of
Yeah.
obviously you got the Shanahan brothers.
Mm-hmm.
So is that kind of the end goals?
Oh yeah.
Eventually have some
For
kind of
me,
family.
at least in 2 years, it's gonna be me and Jacob in
Yeah.
FD. I mean, I'm also looking at Monster Jam. The Gravedigger and the Son of a Digger.
Oh, that
This
Oh
would
is
yeah.
be
why,
sick.
if you know Jacob's Instagram, it's
Okay.
the Son of a Drifter. The Son of
Really?
a
That's
Nice.
Drifter. So
funny. Yeah, yeah.
in Monster Jam, there's a Son of a Digger.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
So
Yep.
yeah.
Jacob is the son of a drifter. So yeah,
Th-
man, trust me, he is a son of a drifter. He can drift. What
that's
some
so
some
cool.
stuff, some people you can learn, you can teach how to drift, but Jacob definitely has it in him because I watch his let's say mistakes or recover from mistakes or mistake about to happen and how he prevent that from happening.
Mm,
You know that he has it in him because I
To
have that and
analyze
I feel the
and
same
everything.
way.
Yeah.
Where some people's like make a mistake, like okay, let me try again, or like just continue their on with that bad line. He be like doing whatever he has to do. What I would do just watching him is like, oh, I would have done that, and I already see him doing that just to get out of the situation. Also, he spot for me in 50K shootout last year in
nice.
New Jersey. And yeah, some of the information he was giving me, I'm like, there's no way. He was probably, he's too young for that, but it would be exactly what he said. And
Wow.
he can see stuff. Before I drove pro, last year and the year before, we would watch some qualifying and stuff like
Hmm.
that with him, and he would be like, this is about 87 or 92 or
Hmm.
75 point run. It would be like pretty close within a point or two, and he would point out all the mistakes that the driver did, and
Wow.
then the judges or Ryan Lintain would like elaborate on
Hmm.
the run, and everything would be like basically right there. So it's pretty cool to see that he has it in him.
Wow.
Them young guns. They
Yeah.
just see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, also this year they became really close friends with Cameron Sorensen, so they've been
Nice.
drifting together at Apple Valley. When we went there, Cameron stayed a little bit longer with Walters there, so all of them drove my prospect car, and Cameron for the first time drove a turbo car, and he got hooked on it. It's like, oh my god, this is the most fun I ever had in a drift car. This is so much fun. He was just bouncing off the rev limiter, and then it was dark outside, and there was flames coming from everywhere, and pops and bangs, and dude, he killed it. He drove so well, and
That's
that
cool.
guy can drive. Yeah, I'm
You think
excited
you
for
think
him.
Yeah,
Cameron's gonna be a problem in pro spec?
I
I
think
hope so. I
I
hope
think
Yeah.
so.
he's gonna do well. I think because
Yeah.
he's gonna be one of those people like you were talking
I
like.
I would hate to lose to him or Hiromi Noah, but being a father and knowing that my kid's gonna come up one time, I'm like just so happy and proud for
Right.
their parents, what they're
Yeah,
doing. So like I'm really happy for what they're doing.
he's
Well,
got
I
zero
mean,
mechanical sympathy coming up. That's
right.
Yeah, yeah. If he's gonna continue that way and doesn't get into his head, and now he's like in official, big show,
yeah.
these kids can drive.
Yeah. Well, there's
Even
an
watching Jacob. Go
yeah.
ahead. Go ahead.
It's interesting to see because we have seen a switch kind of to a lot of younger kids now that are getting involved in drifting, and you're seeing like even in FD, like we got a bunch of kids now. I mean, I would even say like Brandon is still a
Mm-hmm.
kid even, and you got a couple of them in like the close to the top 10 in FD, and it's just crazy what people that have grown up because this sport, I mean, when they were like born, this sport was like in his infancy,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it's like now they've grown up with the sport, and like you guys are all getting into it. Like in when did you get into drifting? Like in your 30s?
Um,
Were you in your
yeah,
20s when you were in drifting?
29, 30. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
29.
So, it's like all these guys that have kind of got into, a lot of drifters I feel like get into their early 20s at least, probably got into it like a lot of the original guys around then, but it's like now you have this new generation that kind of grew up with drifting, and it'll be interesting to see how they deal with it, and like sim driving and all this kind of different ways. Are they going to drive completely different than say someone that kind of just grew up learning to drive on the street or something? So I mean, eventually you probably learn to drive correctly, as the years go on, and more similar. But there's a lot of different driving styles out there. Even like Manoa, I feel like drives completely different than someone over here in America.
I
Um,
feel like he has a VR setup in his visor or something. That's how he drives. Yeah, that kid is
That's
something
funny.
else. He's like a robot.
oh, it's
He is
it's
like a
it's
robot.
just an interesting. I feel like he thinks about how to drive differently than most anyone that I've seen over here.
I don't think he thinks how to drive differently. He has a raw talent, and obviously he's been drifting for about as long as I am, from what I
Yeah,
heard. And just being young and no fear, no mechanical sympathy, good program. He just drives. Also having a lot of time on sim.
yeah,
I can see a lot of sim inputs when he drives. He really drives like a sim in real life. So which some people complained a little bit. I haven't seen. I don't think like I didn't battle him. I might
right,
have. I don't know if I chased him. I know he chased me quite a few times in practice.
right,
But I can see from the stands that he drives his real car like he would drive on the simulator.
yeah,
Um, which which doesn't make the show that bad or anything like that, you
right,
know.
right.
But I can tell he drives simulator style
Yeah,
driving.
if
So
what he says that he practices per like he's like, yeah, I did over like 10,000 laps for like Seattle, I think it was that he
yeah,
practiced or something like that. I was looking at the clips that like Nate and I shot, and I like took the average of like 10, and it's like, all right, a run is this long, like 20 something seconds, and you like do that on the sim and times 10,000. I was like, that's in a week. I was like, that's 78 hours of sim time. I
working
was
overtimes, man.
literally, it's like, holy cow. I'm
Yeah,
like,
Yeah.
man, I get bored after a while.
I'm not that good on simulator, and I'm driving in third person view. I can't even be inside. Like I started inside view, but man,
right.
I don't feel the car. I'm not even that great on simulator.
Oh, it's weird, isn't it? It's weird if
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
I've heard that from a lot of people that obviously did driving in real life, and then they try to make the switch to try simulator, and I feel like a lot of them are like, it's weird. It's
Yeah, it's
weird for them.
easier, I think, the other way around.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
our inputs comes from the feeling the car, not
Yep,
hmm
just visual. And
yep,
here we are, the car is already basically over rotating, but we're not feeling it. And by the time we realize it, we try to make those inputs until it's too late.
yep.
right.
So yeah.
Um,
Oh, I'm just looking at my livery. The livery is I have a guy from Ukraine that designs my liveries for the last 3 years, I believe,
wow.
and that's
Okay.
the same guy. Yeah, that's the same guy that did Workhouse team livery.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Cool.
Yeah, and he did all James Dean era liveries for the last four
Mm-hmm.
years as well. So that's the same guy.
Wow.
And what?
Oh no, you keep going. I got a different question, so keep going on this.
And yeah, every off season, I basically tell him a little bit of a style that I like and I don't like. I basically tell him what I don't like, Or not that I don't like, it's not my style. Like any flames style thing is not my thing. Like I can't
Right.
have any flames on my car. So like, don't give me any flames. Like give me kind of different ideas and I'll entertain them. But like no flames or stuff like that. I don't know.
Right.
It's just not me. And yeah,
Not a
that it's
flamer.
been like he would give me the bass and we would adjust it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
What?
You
I
said you're
said
not.
not a flamer.
Not a flamer, no. I'll bring the fire myself, man. I don't need that fire in my car.
No,
And
I mean it makes sense though, and
Yeah, you
I
definitely
was
always had more of
curious.
like a sleek professional
Yeah.
style.
Well, I was
listen,
curious.
there's a lot of cars, that looks good with the
Mm-hmm.
flames, and I feel like that's their style, that's their kind of a brand, and I don't want
I
to be
always
just
call them
another
hot
car
boy,
with flames.
like hot boy
Yeah.
style. And then
Mm-hmm.
like when you see like even
Like a
like
Forest Wing
straight
or
straight lines and stuff like that, I'm always like, wow, that's like
race car.
race car style.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
NASCAR,
Yeah.
IMSA, LM, GT3.
Yeah. So when
Yeah.
he sent me this render, we adjusted a little bit, and I kind of liked it. And plus, having two cars, identical wrap, I was just, I'm always a big fan. Oh, here's one thing that I really love and like that you said, or somebody asked a question.
Yeah.
Who am I inspired by? I love the teams that have two, three, or four cars of the same livery or like very close to the same livery, and that will represent the team. That like without any guessing or people who doesn't know the team, doesn't know what drifting is, they'll be walking in the pits or watching the live stream, and they see two, three cars same liveries. Like that's a team right there. That's like duh, that's a team,
Right.
right?
Yeah. So you
Um,
talking like Odie's team or even like the Wardhouse team,
yes,
stuff like that.
because even right now, even though Mustang is a big team, if a regular person would see, these three Mustangs, they would be like, maybe it just happened that people have Mustangs, but they cannot really tell that these are one big team.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But, I completely understand they have a huge budget for every single car. Like every single car is a team over there, right?
Right.
So that's
Mm-hmm.
that's okay, or like that's how they run a business. But I
Mm-hmm.
always wanted to have like a fleet of cars that will represent a team, and that's what I
Interesting.
started doing
Yeah.
with my own stuff.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
actually offered this year or this past year to a few drivers slightly. I kind of pitched the idea.
Right.
Maybe didn't like pursue it as hard
Right.
to make that happen. But then when I had the opportunity to do it myself with two cars and two classes, I'm like, yeah. And then when my kids is gonna join me, one or two, it's definitely gonna be a fleet of cars of
Nice.
some brand,
Yeah.
just
Um.
keeping the brand.
Yeah. So that, I mean, that kind of brings me to pro and pro spec, and like how did you make that logistically work? Like how I mean that during those weekends where you had both going on, I feel like that this was a pretty stressful weekend, or no?
Yes. I as far as logistics, I have a stacker trailer and I'm
Mm,
going to all the
right.
pro rounds, which that was my commitment, and wanted to display two cars and having my crew there, just basically having a little bit extra expenses in the tires for prospect. I'm like,
Right.
might as well, let's run both. Being a Mr. Never Settle, and kind of that name keep biting me in my ass from time to time. Just pushing, the past the limits, and decided to do that. On the double header weekends, it's definitely a lot, especially in the Thursday. Um,
Yep.
when I have to practice both cars in
Mm-hmm.
both classes, and then late in the season when I fell into the seeding bracket in prospect as well,
Mm-hmm.
and that was even more crazier for me because
Yeah.
now I have to battle at the end of the
Yeah,
day in
you
both
don't get
classes. I have to
rest
practice and
or
everything.
anything. It's just
Dude, I would like put my race suit in the morning because we have a drivers meeting at some events like as early as 7 o'clock in the morning.
Yep.
yeah.
And then, if I'm winning a prospect, I mean, sorry, if I'm winning a pro seating bracket like St. Louis and stuff, I'm not taking it off until like almost 11 p.m.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
I barely had any time to eat something, even though it's never a problem in our pits. My wife is really taking care of it. Yeah. I don't. A lot of things
You
I take
guys
for
are always
granted.
cooking up the good meats, that's for sure.
Dude, like when I heard some podcasts, last year, the year before, and some teams bringing that up, like about the food, I'm like, what? You guys don't eat good? Like just because I always have my wife there and she always
Yeah.
takes care of the food, I took it so for granted that I'm like, is that could be a problem? And then I
I'm
went to
about to
like a
start a
fun
fight.
event.
Yep.
Yeah, went to like a fun event or something, and there wasn't my wife there, and I'm all day hungry, and I'm like, oh, you really feel like, or you realizing what you have that you need to cherish. But yeah, doubleheader weekends are crazy on me, on my team, and
Well, how do you handle like
I
the
wasn't prepared
grip?
for that.
How do you handle grip levels and like understanding where you're supposed to be when you're driving the two different cars? Or is it not that
So
different?
it's definitely there. It's definitely there. So right now that I'm thinking whether it's a good thing or bad thing, the cars are so different. It's almost like jumping from a dirt bike onto a quad, right? So you
Really?
kind of immediately know what is what, right? And my pro car was so much in the beginning of the season, like more powerful, smoother, and grippier. Where prospect car, it was never properly finished because we rushed it and we finished the year before, right before season started. And then I took it from California, and Michael Essa wasn't at FD anymore, and I didn't put in any time to like finish all the little small things, which being the biggest problem for me why I didn't do so well. Excuse me, in the last couple seasons.
Yeah.
So then towards the end of the season, my pro car started taking a lot of beating and start kind of falling off that high standard of being like a butter car, and but all the little stuff that was annoying in the prospect car, I kept fixing, and towards the end of the season, I kind of felt one with the car in prospect more than pro.
Right.
And even though the motor was like keep declining and smoking more and burning more oil, everything else I kept dialing more and more. And the youth around kind of showed it. We won the event, and
Right.
yeah. So I still want to try it next year. Do it again, double duty.
Yeah.
I just want to come more prepared. I really want to get out of the seating bracket. That way, Thursday would be like an easier practice day. Try one or two laps in prospect, let's say, and just dial it in whatever the pro car. And then
Yep.
Friday is gonna be just one day focusing on prospect, and Saturday you focus only on pro. And yeah, the biggest thing was Thursday practice and seating both classes. That was too much.
Right.
Yeah, it's a lot of
So
work.
I hope I'm not gonna be there again. But if, in the seating or both seatings at the same time.
Right,
But
yeah.
yeah,
It's like it never ends.
Exactly. Well, I mean, it's.
Would you ever want
I talked to
to? Would
Rudy
you
after
ever
the
go
end of the
to?
year, and he's like, "There's no way I can do that again because it's just it's so taxing on you, the team, and
yeah.
especially like you said, if you're in both seating brackets, it's literally it's unrelenting all day." Do you have a favorite car between the two?
Like I said in the beginning, it was the pro car because it just came from Michael S's hands,
Yeah.
and then lack of maintenance, just keep beating on it. It definitely needs a lot of work now.
Mm-hmm.
But prospect car was it's a newer build. It has all Wisefab front and rear, more adjustability, just a fresher chassis.
Yeah.
So as of right now, I feel more comfortable in prospect car. And the fact that prospect car, which I never thought I'm gonna say this or like it, is an
Yeah.
H pattern, made me feel like more like a man, like more like you're driving a race car for
Right.
real. So this one another thing that I want to do for next year is make both cars on H pattern, dog box, as close as possible to each other because that one's sequential. This one dog box, and then different this, different that. A lot of
Right.
different things makes the car feel so different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um.
Gear and everything.
So you're from Belarus, correct? I just want to make
Yes.
sure I get that right. Yeah.
Yep.
So does that those roots kind of come out like with like obviously you have your family that's super involved. It seems like kind of your um part of the
The
world
tight
is
knit
very
group.
family oriented. But
Yeah.
like
I think Slavic community, yeah, we
yeah.
are pretty like a family orientated, or tradition standards are pretty high.
Mm-hmm.
originally.
Yeah.
A lot of people falling off of it, sadly. But I'm coming from a big family. My
Mm-hmm.
parents, together till this day and everything. So I value family. When I was
Right.
getting married, for me, it's like, listen, actually, till death do us part.
Mm-hmm.
No matter what.
Right.
And it's been like that, thank God. And it's gonna be 20 years soon. I mean, as we're dating
Wow.
and married. Yeah,
Yeah.
she was still in high school when we started dating.
Wow.
Sheesh.
That's cool.
And then
So like,
yeah.
what's drifting like over? Like, I don't know if you have a lot of like family or relations still over in Belarus, but like, what is drifting over in Belarus kind of like if you know much about the stuff that's going
Um,
on over there?
yeah, I haven't been there myself, but there's
Mm-hmm.
definitely a championship within the Belarus.
Mm-hmm.
There's a couple drivers from there that they compete in RDS GP, Russian Drift Series,
Yeah.
which is where James Dean used to go and compete with Shanahan. What's his
Right.
name? Not Connor, but Jack.
Jack. Yeah.
Yeah, where he won the championship. So that's a pretty high standard over there. Crazy good driving tracks and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So there's drivers from Belarus that compete in that series as well.
That's cool.
And obviously, it's the builds are not like at the grassroots level. It's nothing compared to what we have here in Pro
Right.
Am and
Yeah.
stuff
Yeah.
like that. But but yeah, drifting is thriving over there. People
That's cool.
talk about it. They know about it.
Would you
A
ever
lot
want
of
to go
drifters.
drive a series over there ever? And, like, is that a thing you
Um,
would ever want to do or?
Man, you would smoke them. Man, you would make them feel bad.
No, what I
You
mean,
you
like
would
a
think so,
drift
but
master, so, you know.
imagine if all of them like me, crazy like me, they can
Yeah,
Yeah.
pass.
they are all
And
crazy like you, but you have an actual proper setup. I would say that
if I bring my own setup, yes, but imagine
yeah,
if they freaking drive the shit boxes all the time, and then I come and try to drive one of them, they would smoke me,
they'd be like power steering. What is that?
right? Right? Yeah,
Oh, never heard of her.
Yeah.
right.
No,
So,
Damn.
but
I'm
yeah, I
just.
would like to go. I've been having some invitations to
Yeah.
go there, or like maybe just a wild card one of the
Mm-hmm.
rounds.
Would
So
you ever drive
we'll
Drift
see.
Masters?
Yeah, I would, and we have some conversations with one of the guys, so I might go there
That would be cool.
as
I
a
mean,
wild card.
it's such a it looks like such a hard competitive series to, you saw Adam obviously struggle the first time he went over there, and it's like
Yeah,
it doesn't it looks like it's just as competitive if not more than FD, and the way that those cars are is different because they're grippier with the tires that they run. The rules are a bit looser, I believe, over there, or the cars are lighter at least, and um
you know, did you have that experience when you watch one of the FD tracks live, and then you get that in person for the first time, and you're like, "What? This is the track? This is the layout? That's
mm,
how a
that's
lot
true.
smaller it is."
Yeah.
Or like this is how they go around the track, and then on the live stream it seems like
Mm-hmm.
eternity. So it's pretty much same thing from what I heard over
True.
there. The tracks are smaller, more transitions, and they make it look like the cars are like faster. But those are tighter tracks and smaller tracks, and I'm sure we can compare it something to like
Yeah.
obviously clutch kickers is way too small to compare it
Mm-hmm.
to, but still,
Like a New
if
Jersey
New
almost.
Jersey when we have a gambler on the road course. And we had,
Yeah.
a little bit better cars, like, or even if we take the unlimited class that I never driven yet, but I could see Christian Nelson, Connor
Yeah.
Soley, Dirk Stratton, all these guys when they run,
Mm-hmm.
and all these like a lot of transitions back and forth, quick zones. If you have a proper, $1 million budget media to stream it,
Yeah.
it would look just as good as Drift Masters. You know what I
Right.
mean? Because so I think over there, people who's comfortable here, they can put down a good runs, and people who come in and feel like they're underdogs, it just shows because it's the biggest thing over here. If you know
Interesting.
how to drift and you feel comfortable and you have the right setup, you can make it happen. If you're coming in and stressing and this and that, dude, you're just not
Right.
gonna do well.
Interesting.
So
That's the
Yeah.
biggest thing. Have you ever had a mental coach?
mental coach.
Essa.
I mean,
I
I
can't
guess
imagine that
that's
you have, but like not even like a therapist, but I guess do you ever just like sit down and almost like have like a session with yourself or like you
No,
like your spotter?
I'm very open and okay with critics. So when people tell me things that I did wrong, like being too emotional or I overreacted to something, to some losses or whatever the call or something else, I would then sit down and kind of try to see myself from other perspective, and I would learn from it, and I would work on myself not to be as emotional, be a little bit more calm, collected, not so
Yeah.
explosive, and just be.
Like you even said with the criticisms with all the like the left foot braking or like and all that like going slow and everything like you've like I don't want to say you've taken it to heart but you've heard the reactions and you've heard the people and like you've changed your car setup based upon it. You've changed the way how you've driven. Like so like you are open to the criticisms and like also not the fact that like you did it for them, but like the fact that everything else is changing a little bit. So it's like, all right, I got
Well, I feel
everything.
like
So are
in the
you?
pro level, you can't be slow. Like you just
Right.
there's no room
Yeah.
to be slow.
No.
There,
So
I
every
mean,
every
you
round.
see what happens, and you don't get chased on your practice runs, and it's a green.
Have you noticed that?
Yeah, that must
at
feel good,
first,
dude. You
at
gotta
first when
say
I
that was your first year in pro, and you still got chased, dude.
bro, every time. Yeah, at first I didn't know what the hell people are doing. I'm just sitting in line and I see somebody pull up to whatever the driver, and they're like, "Whoop, U-turn." I'm like, "Why would you want to give up your spot?" And then somebody else would pull up, "Whoop, U-turn," and then somebody would have bigger balls. They'd just see there's like, "I'm not chasing that guy. Send him," you know. I'm like, "Whoa, okay." Um, in pro, my problem was whole year that I would overgrip my pro car. I would start with way too much grip and I would struggle. And then once I dial back, I'm like, oh, okay, now I can feel the zones better. Now I can drive better. Now I can chase because I would be choked up behind even the fast drivers.
Hmm.
That was my problem because I guess I just told myself that I'm going to pro, and I used to be such a slow driver, such a smooth in prospect. Right now I have to turn it up to 12 instead of 10 in pro because everybody's gonna walk on me. And it took me almost towards the end of the season to realize that I'm just having way too much grip, like in the chases. Some rounds we were like on 8 and 10 psi, and those Vitor tires they're so grippy, and the cars would almost bug and everything. And then once we bump up the tire pressure to like 14, 16 psi, all of a sudden I can drive normally. I can initiate and not to be choked up behind the drivers, however they're doing their things. So yeah, that was the biggest thing for me to learn that I overgripped my tires in pro.
And getting a good
Um,
initiation.
yeah. So it was
Hmm.
that was the thing. But when you said about some critics and left breaking, was it from you talking about event in New Jersey, the last one when Chelsea called me out,
I mean,
that
or
I
just
don't
was
know.
like
Sara?
that was like out of the clear blue, no? Like
That was completely out of the blue. Like
that right?
if he
When
ever
when I
wanted to
saw
call
that,
me
I was
out,
like,
he
wait,
should have
was
done somewhere
Dmitry just?
else.
I was like, was there an event this past weekend that I missed? I was
And
like,
then people on internet jumped and took the run me and Ben Hobson a hot beat last year when I was actually like slow rolling the whole bank and locking up my fronts, which that run was never a part of this conversation, right?
yeah,
And it
Hmm.
would be dumb for me to say that that was a good run or anything like that. What happened in the first part of the battle, I was like tapping his door in the bank, transition, and everything else. And then, like, towards the end of the run, I just been a little too greedy and came and tapped his door at full lock, and it acted as a brake on the front and just spun me around. And, like, kind of felt frustrated. So I just went and threw away my lead and did that, like a slow rolling burnout. And I was gonna spin out by the inside clip, but he was so close to me that if I was going for a spin, he would, crash into me. So I
yeah,
just kept running. So, anyways, that was never meant to be like a winning or anything a battle. That was like just a burning set of tires, because that was my last run at that season, that event, and everything like that.
Yeah.
But the run that Chelsea called me out on was me driving against a Corvette, which was a lot faster, better tires. Me in the S chassis, which I drove for the second time, the S14 that we put together with my kids, with a 5.3 in it, like 300 horsepower versus, I don't know, maybe 450, 500 horsepower. I'm on what's that, Kenta tires, and he's on Valino tires. So there's so much.
yeah.
We go if you watch my qualifying run, you can hear a lot of clutch kicks throughout the whole run, and then you can time my qualifying run versus my top 16, top 8, and whatever my other battle. They're all pretty much the same, not even a second difference. That's a long track. If
Yeah.
you have, I think on such a long track, up to 2 3 seconds difference is still okay within reasonable differences.
Absolutely. Yeah.
5 seconds, that would be like, okay, that's really really awkward. But yeah, my runs within 1 second, all my runs, because I went back and I wanted to see while there as I go initiate nice and wide, the guy was on the inside, super inside. I don't know what the hell he was doing, but he choked himself up there. And then I went for the outside zone 2. He was on the inside. He was not even in the zone. He straightened out. And that's when Chelsea was sitting on grid, fueled by a lot of my competitors slash haters that I beat all the time from that area. For some reason, and maybe through their lens, it seemed like I was left with braking, which that car, like I said, I was clutch kicking as much as I can. I was trying to have a lot of angle to have the RPMs high. Otherwise, the car like kind of grips up and dies, and I have nothing to like bring it back to angle. So I had to have a lot of angle, a lot of RPMs, and it looked a little bit slow. And actually, S chassis does seem slow when you get like to full lock. It's not
Yeah.
like E46, and I still don't know what you can do with that car to make it faster. Maybe obviously drive with less angle, but then like I said, the car wants to grip up and not feel the zones.
Oh, yeah.
So I did that, and then we swapped around. I go to chase him, and he blows off the line. I can barely keep up with him. He goes on the outside, feels nice zones, and I'm on the inside every single lap. I mean, every single zone, I'm on the inside, just trying not to straighten out, but to try to catch up to him, and I still didn't catch up to him. So the only way I won the battle, because he zeroed out in his chase, I didn't zero out in my chase, but I was super shallow everywhere, and I still couldn't be close with him. So how is that saying that, oh, I was still on his door and I was still able to chase him? I wasn't able to chase him.
Yeah.
The car was twice as fast than me. I think he
Yeah.
could have run unlimited class and he would be competitive, the amount of
Right.
grip he had.
Yeah.
So, and it's a Corvette, you got some weight in the back, and you got power, you got good tires,
Yep.
and all that stuff. So out of
Yeah.
all the times that Chelsea could have called me out, that was like the most wrong, time.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Yeah, we had a good conversation, in the private messages, and I have nothing against him.
Right.
I still, like I said, I looked through that thing, and it maybe still messed me up a little bit because I actually stopped using left braking all for all, and
That's
the
that's
times.
more what I was like getting, like not necessarily like who like the critics were, but like how it like adjusted your next, like how you've been driving. Like you were saying earlier that you've been doing less of left foot braking now simply
Yes.
because now that's a thought in the back of your
Now,
mind.
now I feel like they stole the tool from me.
Yeah,
Like
it's literally a
unintentionally,
tool.
I'm
It's
like,
literally a
I was
tool.
just thinking. I was just thinking a couple of my runs, and I'm like, I should have left a break here a little bit just to set myself better, or even in the chase. And I didn't do it because I'm like, I just threw it out of my toolbox now.
Especially
And
not for nothing, like when you're on a bank or anything, like people see like
exactly.
that front tire lock up, they're like, "Oh, he's left foot brake." It's like it doesn't take much for that tire to lock up. That's just dragging ass behind.
Exactly. Yeah. But yeah,
And
if you take watch my practice laps in Irvindale, yeah, there's not a single time that my left, my front tire like puffed a smoke or anything like that. And we've been doing other things to get me higher on the bank and go faster on the bank, but not left foot braking, which I wish maybe I did use it a little bit better.
it's a
And
tool, man. It is a
because
tool.
then you watch all the top dogs, 90% of the guys, they're smoking up their
Yeah,
front
they're
all the way
tapping it.
around the bank.
Yeah, they're
All the way
tapping
around the
like
bank.
on and off.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, anyways, I'm gonna have to relearn my left braking and just screw it.
Well, I mean, I just want to quick ask, like, I mean, we talked about pro a lot, or a good portion of this, but like, as someone that's like the new guys from pro spec that are making the jump to pro, like, what's it like making the jump? Like is it that different, or do you just, or what? I guess yeah. I mean, is there a big difference and a big jump for those kinds of guys, or?
Like I said, besides very very few guys, everybody is just 100%. You can
Mm-hmm.
trust them. They're more professional and more experienced. Yes, they can throw you off, but also they can, you know, once you start drifting, it's like it's a good drift. You can aim
Yeah.
for the door and try to stay there and stuff like that. So it's all mental.
Yeah.
In Seattle, I broke my transmission in pro car, so I used my prospect car, which also had a broken third gear, kept popping off.
Yeah.
But at least the bank ride with Mike Powers, when I led, he wasn't as close to me, and then when I chased him, I was a lot closer to him in my prospect car on 255s than he is in his pro car that he drove
Right.
all weekend on
Mm-hmm.
295s. So as far as car and power and grip, it's fine. It's not that big of a gap. It's
Right.
all about the driver's experience and how
Mm-hmm.
people drive.
Yeah,
So a
interesting.
little bit faster, yeah, for
Yeah.
sure, faster.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to be committed, more committed.
Confidence is
You
key.
can be, you can be, yeah. Confidence is key, and you have to hit in the zones at least 80% throughout the track. Because if you're not hitting the zones, it's you're gonna. At least I feel like shit. Like I can't look back and say like, oh, that was a decent run. I'm very hard on
Right.
myself. So every time every time I make a mistake, my spot already know, and I know, and we're like, yeah, that was this and that was that. So
Right. Well, I mean, you've been talking for pretty much 2 hours straight. I mean, I haven't said too many things. I feel like,
I
well,
try not to do that, and
no,
here I
it's
am
great,
again.
man. Like, well, I mean, you start talking about, like your family and like getting in, like it's such a cool thing to do because it's not. I wouldn't say it's not common yet in drifting. Obviously, drifting's still a young sport, but it'd be really cool to see a bunch of dads and their kids driving, soon. And that, I mean, that's the
Yeah.
thing with drifting is it's not an individual sport. You can make it a team sport. You can make it, um, like it's not like road racing or drag racing
Hmm.
where it's like it's individual, stuff. Like you can literally make a team and do team drifting or even just doing good tandems and getting better at driving. I feel like it would be such a cool aspect to do as a family.
FG does need to make like a teams and points. That will add a little bit extra
Oh, that'd be cool.
competition.
That
Yeah,
would
like
be
they do
cool.
in like F1 and stuff.
Well, F1 you actually have a legit team, right? Two
Mm-hmm.
cars and everything like that.
Yep.
But if we, not that we want to be like a copycats or anything like that, but
Mm-hmm.
RTSGP, they have minimum of two cars, I believe, requirements, maybe two, three cars, something like that. Teams that it could be there's actual teams and actual just random dudes that get together. They come up with a name, and now they have their points or their ranking in the
Right.
standings.
Yep.
Interesting.
And everybody's still going for a personal championship. Everybody's
Yeah.
still going for their like personal points and win and stuff like that. But it just still accumulates the points for every driver
You
from the
get a
team, and
team
you can see the
championship.
teams.
Still pretty
Now
cool.
now
Yeah.
top 32 and everything like that becomes way more interesting because it's about the teams, whether you accumulate more points and blah blah
Mm-hmm.
blah. And all you have to do is just make an extra page, with the team names and add points for whatever they go.
Yeah.
Like they already have with the tire, with the car manufacturer and stuff like that. They don't emphasize that, but if people will, kind of team up a little bit more
Yeah.
and have the teams points in there, I think it's gonna be pretty cool.
That'd be pretty fun.
Yeah,
Fun to
yeah.
Yeah,
kind of
Like
like
see.
when even in Prospect when Ricky and Misko, they were
yeah,
basically a team, right?
yeah,
If
roommates. Yeah.
roommates
Yeah.
team, let's say them, and then
Like literally all four of us. We were all like gas
yes,
factory. So
exactly,
like,
gas
but like
factory,
you could
and
do
then let's say
two,
me,
two.
Wadman, and we could have had somebody else on our team,
Yeah.
and it just doesn't matter. Like now, you care for your teammate more. Now you want to help them more,
Yeah.
to like on the other side of the bracket to get a little bit further to eliminate another guy who's not even that high, a good driver, but just to get him up because he's on that team and adding a couple more points to their team. And there's just going to be way more fun and aspect as far as competition. Um,
I think it would bring
and
that feeling that Drift Masters has because it is country to country, but like it would give that sense of like rooting for your home team in a way.
mm-hmm.
You
Yeah,
know,
yeah. There you go.
it
Yeah,
would
that's a good
be
point.
like
Yeah, because
have
that's like
That's
that
a
a
good
big
point.
thing that I
camaraderie.
think FD's missing is the nationality battles.
Yeah, the
Mm-hmm.
Because
camaraderie, like
mhm.
like
Yeah.
yeah, people have their favorite drivers and things. Obviously, you know, like you see like a lot of people come out for Osbo. They always have like the flags and
Mm-hmm.
everything. But
I mean,
like
and
Yeah.
you could do it pretty easily too. You got Team Toyota with Papadakis. You already got the
Yeah.
Mustang team. You already got Odie's
Yeah.
team. Like,
Mm-hmm.
there's already teams established. I mean, it wouldn't be that
Mm-hmm.
hard to like do it, you know.
yep.
Um, but yeah, I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
and then you can just kind of create like a little series at the end of the year. Top whatever team gets this and this, and so
Mm-hmm.
Just another trophy, dude.
So
Just
there's trophies for every round. The team that accumulated the most points gets a little, reward, whatever, on the
yeah,
podium, and then towards the end of the season as well. It's kind of a big thing.
yeah,
You literally doesn't have to be like a money prize,
hmm,
just acknowledgement
yeah,
and a
it's
little
just the
give
flex thing.
teams behind the scene a little bit
yeah.
Oh,
more race, more competition. Yeah, more
yeah,
flex.
yeah. That's all that like we're doing,
Imagine
you
if me
know.
and Wadman were competing against Alex
And buy
and
strike.
Vice Track. You know what I mean?
I mean,
It'll be just so much more fun.
It is. It's a lot more fun. Yeah, just the idea, like, and it's strategy now. Like,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
well, it's like, all right, well, clearly you're better, so it's like I'm gonna throw this one, so then you get to do this one.
Yeah.
Want that motherfucker trophy?
I mean, to be
Mainly
honest,
because
though, this year was pretty interesting with some of the predicaments. Like some teams do get put in for points for the championship, though. It is kind of an interesting like Odie and Olsen. They had a bunch of battles together. I feel like, and then like even the RTR
Oh
guys
yeah,
and stuff. It's like
yeah.
it does like, and then making if you made it like an official thing, it'd be pretty cool.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
definitely. I always wonder if they ever have like any backdoor like handshake agreements. Like, all right, brother, like do good, but like you kind of gotta
team
lose.
orders,
You
baby. But
so far though, like anytime that I would think that that would happen, it hasn't happened anyway. That would go. So
I don't think there was like a clear cut situations, but if there was race points between Odie and Dean, and let's say Ben Hobson was in Dean's way, I'm
yeah.
sure they would make a deal. And
Oh yeah.
I think Vaughn here was kind of openly saying that our main focus is James Dean for the championship this year because Ben
yeah,
Hobson's unfortunately
yeah,
his
because
car
he
had
battled
issues
him.
here
Was
and
it
there.
Atlanta? Was it Atlanta that he kind of threw away his run? I
He
think
didn't do it on purpose. He
I
didn't
know.
do it on purpose.
It just
But
looked like it though. I was
yeah,
like,
It
damn.
was
what I'm
it
saying
was
is
cool though the way how he came back from
what I'm saying is that a few times Ben Hobson's car was broken, and I
Yeah,
didn't see as much effort putting into his car fixing back up as
right.
much as James Dean's. But that
Hmm.
was clearly, and Vaughn was saying, listen, we're focusing on James Dean more to win the championship. Ben
Hmm.
Hobson is just a filler year, no matter what. So, which makes sense, you
Hmm.
know.
Yeah,
But
obviously.
yeah.
Awesome. Herbie, you got any more questions you got for the man? We've already been on
it.
2 hours. It's amazing how quickly that flies.
Any
I,
any any roaster? Anything you can roast me with?
nah, dude. Nah, I honestly I've said to Nate before. I think that we've discussed it before too. I almost came to an agreement. Like you killed it this year, dude. You really did.
And it's
And
hard. It's hard
it
to.
was crazy every round when it was like, oh, Dimitri's in the pro seating bracket. Like, fuck the pro spec, like whatever. I don't care. But like the pro, like every time I heard that, I was like, really? I was like, I feel like he's been killing it, dude.
Yeah, yeah.
You
So
just
it
kept
was
getting the
a
short
lot
end
of
of the stick, honestly.
stuff. It was like the small stuff that would take me out. Obviously, first round was let's do a quick rundown of the season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
First round was pretty good. Like I said, I felt like I was in some kind of cloud or in the dream when I went to Long Beach. It was cool experience to drive it, battle Connor Shanahan,
Yeah, because that was your
and
first time driving that track, right?
yeah, and I loved it though. Like third run, I think my second or third lead run, I was like ping ponging and touching every wall, and I'm proud to say I didn't crash my car like most of the rookies that came out. Nothing
Right.
on them. It's a really big, crazy, challenging track. But
It
the way
is
I like
though.
to drive, and the way how I like walls, I was my visual reference points. So yeah, I think third and fourth round, I was like ping ponging off the walls and just making all the zones.
Yeah.
Then we went to Atlanta. Atlanta, I still did not have a good event to date. in Atlanta. I don't know. Now I know why. I figure I won't say why, but I know why. So I'm looking forward to next Atlanta, and I think I'm gonna do well. So I hope you guys mark my words somehow.
I always feel like that's always going to be a good one for you.
Yeah. Well, next
Well,
year is gonna be next one's gonna be the best one.
my
for me,
favorite,
guys.
one of my favorite things. So we talked to Dan Stuckey last week, and Dan has always struggled with Atlanta too because he can't see the clipping point at the top of the hill because he's too short. And he went up to James Dean and he's like, "How do you find the clipping point at the top of the hill?" He's like, "You just look at it." And because he's so tall, he can see it. And Stuckey sits so low, he's like, I can't see it.
Yeah, he's sitting in like the low rider. He's got that thing on the bottommost seat bracket point. He's good.
I know, it's just funny because
Yeah. No, for me it's the other one.
Yeah.
For me, it wasn't that not that visibility. But anyways, we come to Atlanta. I do okay in the seating bracket. I go to battle Odie in top 32.
Yeah.
On my chase, I did pretty good in the keyhole. We come and so we have the inside clip, right? Then we have outside zone 1, outside zone 2 in the keyhole, and then inside clip 2. From outside zone 2 to inside clip 2, he does a small handbrake, which there's no slowdown, but he does it clearly, makes me tap his door, makes me spin out. So I'm like, that's right there, and I was close to him. I wasn't like miles away catching up. I was right in his door. He does that little, handbrake pull. I tap his door, spin out because I was at full lock. Then we turn around. I go to the start line. I'm a little bit like mad, and I drive better when I'm mad. So I'm like, let's go. I'm just gonna throw it out there. So go 1, 2, 3, 4. Like go super hard, like almost reverse entry, and hit the rumble strip just a little bit, and both of my rear tires DB'd. Both of my rear tires DB'd, and I just fly off. And I'm like, like nothing else mattered at this point. That's it. I lost, and I look like a fool. I go back in my pits. I find out that, like, again, I don't want to talk on anybody. I'm super grateful for the tire support that I had, but Vitor Tires had random guys come out to do the tires at that round, local guys, and what they did, they used a tire loop to mount all my tires. I mean, all of our tires.
Oh.
So when we dropped the PSI, and at that angle, both of my tires debeated because they were like looped.
Yeah, loosey goose. Yeah.
Exactly. So and
God.
one of my temporary crew guys says like, could that be because of like they put a loop on him? Like, what loop? He's like, well, yeah, when I went to pick up your tires, I saw them doing that, and I told them maybe they shouldn't do it. They're like, oh, that's fine, we always do it. Well, for the street cars, of course, you always do it, but not for us. I remember at Achilles when I used to work with Michael Essa and was always handing out their tents. They were like very skeptical even to do any water. They were barely spraying any water, but like no soap or anything like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because the tire would like rotate, spin on the wheel, then tip it and all that stuff. So it's like just dry. They would even rip some bits. I remember I have so many brand new Achilles tires I had at that time with the ripped bits on the tire, just because they would mount them dry, and if they damage it, oh well, they throw it away. I pick it up, I put some sealant on and mount it myself and go drifting. Yeah, so I was watching those tire machines like a hawk, like, then I got ripped, give it to me now.
Up and down.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what happened there, and I'm like, I was so upset because I just felt better at that track, and here I am, blew it out like that. Both tires beat it. I was mad. I lost. It is what it is.
Yeah.
And then we go to Orlando. Orlando is one of my favorite tracks, or just because it's a bank track with walls, and I have no problem driving those. I did pretty good in the seating bracket. That was my first podium, whatever, 3rd place.
Yep.
And then I go battle Matt Field. First, he caught me off the line. He caught that red light like a freaking pro dragster. Like, he went off before I even knew anything. He was like, whoa, that thing shot off the line so fast. I've never seen a drift car take off this fast. It went so fast that when I let go of my clutch, my car bugged, and I did about 2 or 3 clutch kicks in my first gear just to get the car going. That's how I overreacted because I saw his car just taking off. So there was a huge gap on the run-up. So I go 1, 2, 3, 4, or I don't remember if I ran 3rd gear. Clutch kick initiation and maybe first quarter of the bank. I'm like, whoa. I remember randomly just talking to Chelsea, and Chelsea watched that, and he's like, I saw how he smoked you on the run up, and I saw your clutch kicks, and also he's like, I thought you're gonna like just T-bone him on the bank, how fast you were closing up to him. But anyways, I cut up to him and like locked in and just drove with him all the way around through the transition, inside clip, and second out, outside zone was right there on his door. Then we, swap positions, and I go, do all my things, initiate, wrap the bumper on the wall. I don't know why, but I get that track basically on throttle the whole time. Once I initiate, it's on throttle, a little bit,
Yeah.
throttle, maybe flipping the throttle, coming off the bank, back on throttle, transition, just adding more angle after inside zone two, and all the way around around that outside zone two on throttle. I do run out of tires towards the end, so it was but I was still just fully pinned. I got that, and we earned one more time because Matt on the outside zone inside clip two, he hit it with his passenger fender, which was a pretty big mistake when he
Right.
transitioned a little too soon. So got us one more time. A lot of times I drive better on one more times. This time in my chase, I did better chase. Now I'm like 1, 2, 3, watching that light coming down, right? And I'm like, revving my engine, and my clutch is like ready to go. My car is like about to roll. Now the light went off. No one's going anywhere. I'm like, let's go, boy. Again, he went within the time limits. You know what I mean? Like 1 second
Yeah.
or something. He went, no problem there. But what I'm saying is the comfort, mental comfort that he had. Now,
Yeah.
first time he caught me, sleeping on the line. The second time he see me like ready, he's gonna take his time, which is everything within the rule. Now he's not going anywhere. Now I'm always thrown off by him not going
Yeah.
so fast. So, but I was ready because I was like, you're not getting me this time, whether it's gonna be fast or slow, which he didn't. So we go 1, 2, 3, initiate. I drive, and same thing. I stuck to him even better now because I wasn't left behind in the first portion of the bank. We finished the run pretty good. Everybody's like, man, that's gonna be something. And here I am. I go on my run. I initiate 1, 2, 3, rob the bank, and he's right there on my door. And I'm like driving in the middle of the bank. It's like, man, I feel like it's gonna go another one more time. I need to do something extra. So let me maybe like go a little deeper in the wall. So I go a little bit deeper, and the wall kind of like there's a little bump out in Orlando. It
Yeah.
just like taps me just enough to like do a little small correction, which caused me to go a little bit wider on the outside zone inside clip one, and everything else was good. So that was like a small little bump that, basically it took myself out. Otherwise, had I not done it, just drove how I drove, could be another one more time. So I felt really
Right.
good there. So, anyways, that was Orlando. Still good experience. One more time with Matt Field, and
Yeah.
a lot of good moments. New Jersey, I won my seeding bracket.
Yep.
In New Jersey, I won the seeding bracket, and then I go to battle. In practice, I was chasing Jeff Jones like 3 or 4 times. Excuse me, 3 or 4 times I was chasing Jeff Jones in practice, and I try not to line up against him. Try to line up against somebody else, but it was just how that is. Like you're not gonna go back 15 cars
Right.
or something like that. And most of the time, I would line up to chase him when I'm on new tires and he's on a second run on his tires. And
Yeah.
I don't know. I think they complain a little bit about the tire wear, especially with Jeff Jones. He likes a lot of wheel speed, so he was killing most of his tire on the first run, and then second run he was running on cords. So I would chase him pretty slow, like 3 times in a row. And the last run of the practice, I chased him again and I tapped him, and we both kind of like went off track. No, he led me off track. So he almost hit the wall. He kind of pulled the angle off and he went into the dirt, and I followed him and I tapped him there, which probably cracked my intercooler, which I didn't know. We just cleaned it up, went to battle Adam LZ, and I go 1, 2, 3, initiated throughout outside zone 2. I start losing power. Outside zone 3, it was all NA, and I just didn't click. I thought maybe some kind of glitch, maybe it'll go away. I go line up for the lead. I go first gear, what? I go second gear, what? It took me all run up to just go up to second gear all the way. I still click third, initiate it. The car's not going anywhere. I downshifted to second, ran the truck in second, and Adam got the win, obviously, because I was barely, drifting sideways. So that's how New Jersey, that's your beginner's luck, I guess,
Right.
or
Right.
rookies,
Yeah.
I feel like
in
New
pro.
Jersey honestly gives all of like the hometown dudes the worst luck.
Yeah.
It really has not treated really much of us
Yeah.
too well.
Then we go to St. Louis. I went seating bracket again. Everything went well. In practice the next day, I practice, and then staff it into the wall. I don't know. I don't know what happened. I think I might have went third lap on the used tires or something like that because we were short on tires a little bit. Some rounds it was like really tight, so I was trying to squeeze everything I can out of my tires. And Robert Thorne was behind me, and I actually told him, "Listen, I'm going on bull tires, so just give me some room." He's like, okay. I go zone one, pretty good, deep, like basically dragging the bumper on the wall. I transition, and I'm like feeling that I'm like doesn't have the same grip. I'm going a little too wide, so I'm trying to save myself, and still a little bit tap outside zone two, and here Robert Thorne like coming in and smashing into me, and we both like spin
I
out.
remember that. Yeah, that was wild.
Yeah.
Basically totaled the car. He was almost worse than me, even though we had to like change both sides on the on the suspension, the axles, and like a lot of stuff. And and I had to battle Ken Gosha, which is pretty smooth driver. I think I could have a chance at least there, to do better and get out of the seating bracket. So we pull up to the start line. I crashed my cool suit and everything, but it was so hot. We put it in there, and the guys did the lines and whatever they had to do.
Yeah.
And this thing was leaking water, just a little bit, dripping water. So while we are at the on hot grid before we go to the warm up the tires, one of the starting marshals, they're like, your cool suit is leaking, you can't have it, you got to take it off. So the guys had to pull it off about 50-60 pounds from the trunk, which is way back there. And that's obviously affects how the car will transition and initiate. I didn't think about it, but it definitely affected. So when I go to chase Kengoshi, I go 1, 2, 3, we initiate, and I feel like my car doesn't have that like nice swing to angle. So I'm like, come on, initiate. What happens, So it's initiating a little bit longer handbrake, which put me into the wall just enough to crack my tire, I believe, and GB or something like that. So that was it. Um, uh, no, I hit the wall. I hit the wall, but the tire stayed on the wheel. I finished the run, and then I did decent lead, I guess, and he chased me okay. So, but anyways, that was enough for me to lose. Seattle, my car broke. I tried to use Prospect car. It was popping out of gear. I lost it there again. And then Utah, I blew the motor in pro with Ben Hobson there.
Yep.
And then Irvindale, let's not talk about it. Irvindale, we had a crazy events happening before the event.
Oh yeah.
Because we had to rebuild the motor twice before I show up to the track, and I didn't sleep for like 2 weeks in a row almost because it was driving there 4 days, not sleeping, rebuilding the car for a week, and then going back to the Airbnb and back pretty late. I had a good practice, man. I had a really good practice, and I battled Rudy in seating bracket. I watched his runs. He wasn't doing that good. He started improving towards the end of the practice, but not that great. And I was pretty solid in practice because that's my favorite track.
Yeah.
I'm not afraid of the walls, and outside zone 2 was always deep. My whole car was behind the line. Same thing in outside zone 1. I would like initiate and try to get out there and stay behind the line as well the whole time. So really small things that we were working on, like no big issues. More of a chase. We're trying to dial in my chases. My leads were pretty solid. And in the battle, I just had a big brain fart. I go 1, 2, 3, 4, and instead of my normal initiation with the handbrake, I for some reason tried to do clutch kick initiation, but my hand still did the handbrake, so I completely stalled the car.
Oh.
I
Hey, at least
initiated.
it just stalled and it
Bro,
didn't do
I
all
stalled
the
it.
way there.
I stalled it, and I'm like, no, what did I just do? I let go, and because the car is still sideways and the motor stalled, it's acting as a handbrake, so the car just keeps sliding. And I'm like trying to pump the throttle, maybe it's gonna pop start, but it's not doing because there's not enough grip. And until the car straightened out, now you got grip, so we pop started, and I'm like clutch kick and went back drifting. But at that point, it was 0, and I'm like, man, what did just happen? But I learned, a big lesson how important for me to get some good rest, sleep, prep way before. Like I was big into from my grassroots, blow up the engine, on previous event, right? And I wouldn't do anything. I would go pay my registration, get everything ready for the next weekend to go drifting. And on Friday, would leave my work early, go to the junkyard, buy the motor, swap the motor overnight, and go on Saturday drifting. And I was like, my proud that I can do everything last minute,
Yeah.
Right.
which is not smart. And I kind of carry that into. I used to stay in California for the off season, and I'll be working, trailer fixing up my cars and all that stuff. My goal is to be ready, January, February, start going testing, driving the cars in March, stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that, and just months ahead of time.
Right.
It's ready to go. Not like it was, last year. So yeah,
Right.
that's how my season went in pro. Anything that could go wrong kind of did, and that's when I personally learned the most.
Well,
And because I don't want anything new or stuff like that happen to me next year. So I'll
I
let you
feel
know
like
what to
that's
expect.
a rookie season, though. That is a rookie
Got the
season.
Yeah,
kinks out.
You know, and it's one of those things where I mean, you look at your rookie season in pro spec. How much did you learn? Like it's such a
Uh-oh.
huge thing. Oh, and then we
We
lost him.
lost him that time.
Man, I don't know
Dude,
what it
first
is. Like
time.
people just disappear, man. I think he's just from the pressure. He's just like, you know.
That's it.
But yeah, I don't know.
But yeah.
I what is there like? What would be your overarching like lesson for guys that are doing pro am and kind of are wanting to do FD in the future? Like what's there's so much I know. There's just so much that you learn, but like like is there an overarching theme that's like you've really learned over the years?
you have to love it more than you hate it.
Just from all the
Because
hours you put in, and
from everything, man, from everything, and there's kids still DM me sometimes. Oh, this is so cool. I want to become a drifter and make my living from drifting. And I'm like, if you only knew, if you
Yep.
only knew.
right.
There's no. I mean,
Enjoy it.
there is some making money, but it's not. Not
Right.
yet. I hope it's gonna turn around, and this will be the next NASCAR and stuff like that, where
Mm-hmm.
there's gonna be big sponsors and yeah. So at that point, I think it's gonna be even right now. I mean, you guys wanted to get into prospect, and they've been waiting for their license to be granted, and they're still not in. So once FD or drifting is gonna become more funded, it's gonna
Yeah.
be even more hard to get in and stuff like that because
True.
a lot of things will elevate.
Mm-hmm.
I know if I had a bigger budget, I would be more prepared. I would perform much better, and where there will be more money for all the teams, everybody's gonna
Mm-hmm.
perform better. Everybody's gonna be more prepared. Everybody's gonna entertain fans even more, like in the pits and in between the rounds,
Mm-hmm.
and it's gonna be a snowball effect. I
Right.
feel like it's just gonna keep growing and keep capturing more and more audience, more money in the whole world.
Right.
So
Do you have
I hope it's
any?
gonna start.
Yeah. Do you have any like plans for upgrades for next year or like? Or I mean, the car was obviously competitive in pro. So is there really much more that you can do to really enhance the car, or is it really just keeping it reliable?
Yeah, keeping it reliable. Like I said, I was putting too much grip into the car,
Mm-hmm.
so now we have some notes from the tracks.
That's huge.
We Yeah, we're not gonna start with way too much grip. Gonna start with easy driving for me, and then worry about grip and stuff like that. So obviously depends what tires we're gonna be on. Still
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
undecided, and but trying to simplify, become more prepared ahead of time. Have the cars
Absolutely.
as close as possible, similar, because right now they're pretty different,
Yeah.
and um, and that's it. Go from there.
Heck yeah.
Oh yeah.
Working
Awesome.
working on some proposals and some meetings with the companies. Hopefully, we'll have something more solid by
Heck yeah.
PRI or stuff like that.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
yeah, that's what I'm at.
that's the
Oh yeah.
challenge. That's this time of the year. It's this time of the year is the, hey, company, I can help you. Kind of conversations. Or a lot of it's relationships and like people that you've met over the years, and that's kind of the challenge with drifting is like you can't just go into any company and be like, hey, give me free money and parts for representing you. Like a lot of it's relationship based, and over the years
Mm-hmm.
you
Yeah.
you build those relationships, and eventually when you do succeed, they start to notice, and that's when things start to pay off. But again, I appreciate you taking the time to come hang out with us this Tuesday. It was, I mean, I didn't have to do hardly any talking, so it was great. I just like, I'm just here listening to stories. I mean, that's half the
Ah.
fun.
Good.
Before every driver needs to give me one Andy Luck story, preferably
Ah.
one that's PG.
Andy Luck story. I have one. I have one.
Okay.
So, um, 2020 when
Yeah.
I were at Irvindale, I'm running my top 8 battle
Okay.
to to secure my championship, right?
Yeah.
And there was some friends of my friends that came to the event. They got the bracelet and stuff
No.
like
Yeah.
that. They were at my trailer, got pretty drunk, and I'm going to basically after the battle they will announce me as a champion, and they wanted to get into the hot pits. So one of them is pretty drunk, jumps into the trailer and grabs my hard card, put it on, and walking into the hot pit. And Andy Luck is right there, right? And I'm at the pulling up to the start line to do my warming up my tires and going for the battle. So this guy is going where we used to enter the
Yeah.
hot pit area.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He's walking in into like is like, hey, who are you? And he's like, I'm Dmitry Brutskiy. While I'm warming up my tires, he's like, what? He's like, what? He's like, yeah, I'm going in there. He like just stopped him and start yelling at him. He almost contacted race control to like stop me from going further and
Oh
kick me out and
shit.
blah blah blah. I didn't know that. Luckily, I didn't know that. Actually, my spotter knew it, and luckily he didn't tell me anything because I was at that time was still very emotional, overreacting to everything.
Right. Yeah.
So I go, make that run, they secure my championship, come back, and all of a sudden I see Andy Luck like running to me, like so mad. I'm like, I just won my championship. What the heck? I thought he's gonna, congratulate me.
Right.
He almost wanted to beat me up. He like almost grabbed me by my suit. And I was like, almost wanted to rip my hard card in half. Like, what the hell is this? And blah blah blah. I'm like, what are you talking about? Why is like some guys trying to get in? And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. And there's some more people kind of told me the situation, what happened. I'm like, dude, I'm so sorry. I don't know. Obviously, I'm not going to have my hard card on me while I'm in my race suit. It's in my trailer hanging there, and I didn't invite or allow anybody. I was pretty strict because I learned a lot of that stuff from Mike Alessa, to be professional and not to do any stupid stuff. So I was very strict on stuff like this. So, but yeah. I'm finding out that I almost wasn't able to secure my championship had he stopped the race, through race control, not let me run because somebody.
Shit.
So think of this, I'm at the start line about to do my pass when somebody arguing with Andy Luck that it's him trying to get into the hot pits. So yeah, after that it was pretty crazy, and Andy Luck like came down, was like, it's okay, go continue driving, you got the championship, go.
Oh.
But I was like, my
oh my gosh,
temperature was pretty hot. Yeah, I immediately kicked I cursed the guy out, kicked him out and everything. That guy felt bad at that moment. I think he sobered up pretty good.
Yeah.
He felt bad for what just happened.
Yeah.
It was just one of those little silly things, unthinkable. You know what I mean? You just throw it on and trying to walk in there to congratulate me with another my brother, somebody like that. Yeah. But how a small stupid thing could become a big problem. So we've been learning from small stuff like that.
Well, I mean that's what Andy does, and Andy's no BS. Like he doesn't really matter who you are. It's like it's just one of those things where he's got an event to put on, but I mean he always everyone has an Andy Luck story, and
he also put me on probation in 2022. and I paid some fine.
Nice.
Yeah. So we have good relationship. Oh no, I have a good one. I have another one. So I think it's the second year after the second year when I won my championship.
Yeah.
So to the final back in Russia we had this like a lollipops.
Okay.
soccer candy, and it's a rooster. I don't know why, but it's a
Okay.
rooster shaped
Yeah.
sucker. So we call it cocksucker. So after I won my championship, I went up and I gave it to Andy. That cocksucker candy, and he really liked it, and he took a selfie with me and posted it on his Instagram. So
That's
yeah,
amazing. I mean,
Uh,
that's the fun part of FD is you guys are all one big family, even though you.
it is.
I
He
mean,
just gives a lot of tough love.
I mean,
I was gonna have a lot of those candies, and every time I beat somebody, give them that cocksucker candy. But I
Yeah.
was like, that's gonna be too much. That's gonna be
Nah,
too rude. I
that's
know
pretty good.
losing is hard. Losing is hard, but on top of it, getting the cocksucker candy from me, I'm like, I'm already hated too much.
I.
I'm do
Oh
that.
man, that's good times. That's funny. Oh man. Well, I mean, you've already been we've been going for 2.5 hours. That's wild. But
No
again,
way.
yeah,
Wow.
dude, it's been a good night. It's been fun, and that's why I love doing these.
Cool.
I mean, I have no idea where it's gonna go, and the stories that get told, and that's my favorite part about this is, I mean, I'm friends with so many of you guys that it's we
Yeah.
have all these different memories and all these cool things that happen, but there's just so much cool stuff to learn in the industry. And I mean, we had a bunch
Different
of questions
perspective.
from the chat that were really good ones that I didn't think about, and so I hope people were able to learn some stuff from this event. And I'm gonna clip some of it up and post it. Like the stuff about your kids and like getting them involved is so cool to me. Um,
Yeah.
Never
so
Cool.
settle, baby.
Never settle.
yeah, baby.
Oh,
But yeah, man.
shit.
Again, thank you for coming on, Herbie. As always, thanks for being a part of this. Where can they find you at? What's like your socials and everything there, Dima?
Yeah, Instagram at Dima Brutskiy, Facebook Dmitry Brutskiy. My kid Jacob, son of a drifter, or the real son of
Nice.
a drifter, I think. We started a YouTube channel like father versus son, like
Oh
the
heck yeah.
drifted related,
Mm-hmm.
but we didn't do a good job at it. We have to come back to it and revive it
Yeah,
and
you
keep
gotta put him to
posting.
work. You gotta get him
Yeah,
learning all
I
that
know.
stuff
Yeah,
too.
Well, you're
yeah,
going
yeah.
to the track this Thursday, so it sounds like there could be a next episode.
I know, and we've been recording so much. My phone is like full of all kind of stuff, and I just
That's good. You
better
got the
posting.
backlog. It doesn't matter when you end up posting it.
I know,
You got
I
the
know.
backlog.
I
That's
need to do
why
it,
it's
especially in
all
the
good.
off season.
Listen,
Yeah,
you don't
we're
gotta
gonna
tell
keep
me.
going.
It's a lot of work,
They've
even
been
if
doing
it
some
is just stuff.
shorts. Yeah, they've been doing some shorts with Legos. They're pretty big in Legos, building cars like custom from just random pieces.
All right.
Nice.
No instruction, nothing. They paint them different colors. They got all kind of GTRs, Mustangs, BMWs,
Wow.
and old JGM cars. They're into that as well.
Nice.
It's crazy. Like they, my kids, you think they would want something fresh and new, but when we talk about cars, they want either late '90s or like BMWs, E30 and stuff like that. That would be their dream car. I'm like, okay,
Wow.
that's cool.
That's
So
neat.
yeah,
Awesome.
Yep.
Well,
they have that style.
that's so cool. Yeah, and I mean, hey, they got good taste. Can't blame them.
Yep.
Well, again, thank you guys for coming on. I appreciate everyone hanging out in the stream. It was a good time. Thank you for Malik W's stream.